Lily Dawson stood in a sterile hospital corridor, her hand shaking as she stared at the consent forms that might as well have been her grandmother's death warrant. 72 hours until surgery. 72 hours to fulfill one impossible dying wish, walking into that operating room believing her granddaughter wasn't alone in this world, believing someone loved her enough to promise forever. So here she was, about to do the most insane thing she'd ever done. Approach a complete stranger outside a coffee shop and offer him $5,000. She didn't have to pretend to be her husband. What could possibly go wrong? If you're watching from anywhere in the world, drop your city in the comments below. I want to see how far this story travels. And stick around until the end, because what starts as a desperate lie becomes something none of them saw coming. Hit that like button, and let's begin. The fluorescent lights in Boston General Hospital's waiting room buzzed like angry wasps, and Lily Dawson was pretty sure she was about to throw up. Not from the smell, though the combination of disinfectant and bad coffee was definitely doing its part, but from the sheer impossibility of what her grandmother had just asked her to do. "Married?" Lily's voice came out strangled. "Gram, I don't even have a boyfriend right now." Eleanor Dawson looked impossibly small in the hospital bed, her skin paper thin, her eyes still sharp despite the morphine drip. "I know, sweetheart, I know." Her weathered hand found Lily's, squeezing with surprising strength. "But I need to know you won't be alone. Before I go into that surgery, I need to see you settled." "You're not going anywhere," Lily said fiercely, blinking back tears. "Dr. Morrison said the procedure has an 85% success rate and a 15% chance I don't wake up." Eleanor's voice was gentle, but firm. "I've lived a good life, Lily. 78 years. But you've spent the last 5 years taking care of me instead of living, working yourself to death between that diner and the bookstore, putting your own life on hold. I wanted to—" "I know you did. You're too much like your mother that way. All heart, no sense of self-preservation." Eleanor's eyes glistened. "But I'm tired, baby, and I'm scared. And the only thing that would let me go into that operating room with peace is knowing you have someone, that you won't be alone if—" She couldn't finish, didn't have to. Lily felt something crack open in her chest. Her grandmother had raised her since she was 8, after the car accident that took both her parents, had worked 2 jobs of her own to keep Lily fed, clothed, educated, had never once complained, never once made Lily feel like a burden. And now she was asking for one thing, one impossible thing. "The surgery's in 3 days, Lily said quietly. "I know." "Gram, I can't just conjure a husband out of thin air. You're resourceful." Eleanor managed a weak smile. "You always have been. Remember when you were 12 and convinced the entire neighborhood you were raising money for a school trip to Washington, D.C.? That trip was real. It was to the museum downtown, and you needed $40 for the bus and admission." Eleanor's laugh turned into a cough. "You raised $300, donated the rest to the children's hospital." Despite everything, Lily felt her lips twitch. "Mrs. Patterson still brings that up at church. My point is, when you want something badly enough, you make it happen." Eleanor's grip tightened. "Please, Lily, I'm not asking you to really get married. Just let me believe. For a few days. Let me meet him. Let me see you smile the way you used to before everything got so hard." Lily looked down at their joined hands, her grandmother's spotted with age, trembling slightly, her own chapped from too much dish soap and not enough lotion, nails bitten to the quick from stress. She thought about the $1,247 in her checking account, the $23,000 in medical bills already piled up, the student loans still hanging over her head from the journalism degree she'd never finished, the 2 jobs that barely covered rent and groceries. She thought about coming home to an empty apartment after the surgery. Win or lose. She thought about her grandmother dying without this one small comfort. "Okay," she whispered. "Okay? Okay. I'll figure something out." Eleanor's whole face transformed, years seeming to fall away. "Really? Really?" Lily forced a smile she didn't feel. "Just promise me you'll fight. Promise me you'll make it through that surgery." "I promise to try my absolute hardest." Eleanor pulled her close, and Lily breathed in the familiar scent of lavender and peppermint, wondering how many more times she'd get to do this. I love you, sweetheart, so much. I love you too, Graham. 45 minutes later, Lily sat in her car in the hospital parking garage and Googled hire fake boyfriend Boston. The results were not encouraging. Escort services, sketchy websites with even sketchier testimonials, a Reddit thread from 2019 asking the same question with responses ranging from just use Craigslist to this is how people get murdered. Great, Lily muttered, scrolling through page after page of uselessness. Fantastic, perfect. Her phone buzzed. Text from Shanice, her coworker at the diner. You coming in for your shift? Marco's losing his mind back here. Lily checked the time. 2:47 p.m. Her shift had started at 2:30. On my way, she typed back. Sorry. Hospital. How's Eleanor? Surgery scheduled for Friday. She's hanging in there. You need anything? Lily almost laughed. A husband, apparently. Know any takers? 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then, girl, what long story? See you in 15. She started the car, a 2004 Honda Civic with a suspicious rattling noise and a check engine light that had been on for 6 months, and headed toward the diner, her mind spinning. 3 days. She had 3 days to find someone willing to pretend to be her husband, meet her dying grandmother, and be convincing enough that a woman who'd known Lily for 30 years would believe it was real. Oh, and she was completely broke. So whoever this theoretical person was would have to do it out of the goodness of their heart, which, based on Lily's experience with humanity, meant she was absolutely screwed. The lunch rush at Margie's diner was finally dying down when Lily burned herself for the 3rd time that shift. Jesus! She jerked her hand back from the coffee pot, biting off the rest of the curse, as she noticed old Mr. Henderson in booth 7 frowning at her. You okay, hun? Margie herself appeared, all 5 feet of her, gray hair scraped back in a bun, eyes sharp behind rhinestone-studded glasses. Fine. Just distracted. Uh-huh. Margie grabbed Lily's wrist, examining the red mark forming on her palm. That's the 3rd time today. What's going on? Nothing. Don't nothing me. I've known you since you were this high. She held her hand at waist level. You forget things when you're stressed. Last time you burned yourself 3 times in one shift was when Eleanor had that scare with her heart, 2 years ago. Lily felt her throat tighten. Surgery's Friday. I know, baby, but that's not all, is it? And maybe it was the gentle way Margie said it, or the fact that Lily had been holding everything together with duct tape and sheer force of will for so long, or maybe she was just so tired of being strong, but she felt herself crumbling. She wants me to be married before the surgery. Margie blinked. Come again? She wants... Lily lowered her voice, glancing around to make sure no customers could hear. She wants to meet my husband before she goes into the operating room. Says she needs to know I won't be alone. But you're not... I know I'm not married, Margie. She knows I'm not married, but she's asking anyway. Margie was quiet for a long moment, her expression unreadable. Then she said, How much time you got? 3 days? Lord have mercy. Margie pulled Lily toward the back, past the kitchen where Marco was singing along badly to whatever was playing on his ancient radio, into the tiny office that smelled like receipts and air freshener. She shut the door. Okay, talk to me. What are you thinking? I'm thinking I need to find someone willing to pretend to be married to me for approximately 48 hours, and I have no idea how to do that without ending up in pieces in someone's basement. You thought about asking someone you know? Friend from college, maybe? My friends from college all moved away after graduation, and the few people I still talk to here. Lily shook her head. They'd do it if I asked, but they'd all tell me I was crazy for lying to Graham, and they'd be right, and I can't deal with that right now. So you want a stranger? I want someone who won't judge me, someone who'll just play the part and leave. Lily slumped against the desk. I know how insane this sounds. It sounds like a woman who loves her grandmother very much. Margie studied her for a moment. You thought about how much this is going to cost? I've got about $1,200 saved up. Lily, no, it's fine. I can pick up extra shifts after everything's done. I'll make it back. That's your emergency fund. This is an emergency, Margie. Lily's voice cracked. She raised me. She gave up everything for me. And she's asking for this one thing. And I know it's crazy. I know it's a lie. But if it gives her peace, if it helps her fight, then I'll figure it out. I have to. Margie looked at her for a long time. Then she sighed, pulled open a desk drawer, and took out an envelope. I was going to give you this as a Christmas bonus, but I think you need it now more. Margie, I can't. $500. And before you argue, it's not charity. You're my best waitress. You never call in sick. And you covered for Shanice last month when her kid had the flu. You've earned it. She pressed the envelope into Lily's hands. And if you're really going to do this crazy thing, at least do it right. $1,700 is better than $12. Lily felt tears prick her eyes. Thank you. Don't thank me. Just promise me you'll be careful. No meeting strangers in dark alleys or whatever you kids do these days. I promise. And for what it's worth, Margie squeezed her shoulder. Eleanor's tougher than she looks. She's going to make it through that surgery and live to be 100, just to spite anyone who doubted her. Lily managed a watery smile. From your mouth to, well, wherever. Now get back out there. Table 12 wants more coffee, and Mr. Henderson's been waiting for his pie for 10 minutes. Choke. By the time Lily's shift ended at 9 p.m., she'd formed the skeleton of a plan. She'd offer someone money. Not all $1,700, she'd need some of that for bills, but maybe $5,000. She could put it on her credit card, deal with the debt later. $5,000 for 2 days of pretending. Meeting her grandmother, maybe sitting with her before the surgery, being present and caring and believable. It wasn't the worst plan ever conceived. It also wasn't the best, but it was the only one she had. The question was, where did she find someone willing to do it? She was mulling this over, walking toward her car in the diner's back lot, when she nearly collided with a man coming out of the coffee shop next door. Sorry, they both said at the same time. Lily looked up and up, into dark eyes that were currently fixed on the phone in his hand, frowning at whatever he was reading. He was tall, 6'2" maybe, with dark hair that looked like he'd been running his hands through it, wearing jeans and a plain black t-shirt that probably cost more than her rent but didn't advertise it. My fault, he said, glancing at her briefly before returning to his phone. Wasn't watching where I was going. He had a nice voice, deep, a little rough, with an accent she couldn't quite place. Not Boston, but not far from it either. No, it was me, Lily said automatically. I was distracted. He nodded absently, already moving past her, and that would have been it. Just another random encounter in a city of strangers, forgotten as soon as it ended. Except Lily's mouth decided to act independently of her brain. Hey, she called out. He stopped, turned back. Yeah? And then she really looked at him. Mid-30s, maybe. Tired eyes, like he hadn't been sleeping well. Strong jaw with a day or two of stubble. Muscular in a way that suggested he actually used his body for things, not just for show. No wedding ring. Hands that were occupied with both his phone and a coffee cup, which meant he wasn't in a hurry to get somewhere. He looked normal, approachable, like someone slightly overwhelmed but fundamentally decent older brother. He also looked like he was waiting for her to explain why she'd stopped him. This is going to sound completely insane, Lily heard herself say. His eyebrows rose slightly. Okay. And you're probably going to think I'm either crazy or dangerous or both. Those aren't mutually exclusive. But he pocketed his phone, giving her his full attention. What's up? Lily took a breath, let it out, decided that if she was going to do this absolutely unhinged thing, she might as well commit. How would you feel about being my husband for 2 days? He blinked. I'm sorry, what? I know, but hear me out. The words started tumbling faster. My grandmother's having surgery on Friday, major surgery, and she asked me to be married before she goes in. Said it's the only thing that would give her peace, and I don't have a boyfriend. I don't have time to find a boyfriend, and I definitely don't have time to actually get married. So I need someone to pretend. He was staring at her like she'd just sprouted a second head. I can pay you, Lily continued desperately. $5,000. Cash. You just have to meet her, maybe visit once or twice, be there the morning of the surgery. That's it. No weird stuff, no strings, just pretending for 48 hours that you married a complete stranger. $5,000, he repeated slowly. I know it's not a lot for the level of weird I'm asking. It's not that. He set his coffee down on a nearby planner, ran a hand through his hair, which explained the mess. Let me get this straight. You want me to pretend to be your husband. For 2 days. Meet your dying grandmother. She's not dying. Lily's voice came out sharp. Sorry, she's not. The surgery has a good success rate, and she's strong, and she's going to be fine. His expression softened slightly. Okay, your grandmother who's having major surgery, and you want to pay me $5,000 to lie to her. Laid out like that, it sounded even worse than it was. Yes, Lily said quietly. Why me? Because you were here. Because you look like someone who wouldn't murder me and steal my organs. Because... She broke off, suddenly feeling the full weight of how pathetic this was. Never mind, this was stupid. I'm sorry I bothered you. She turned to go, face burning with humiliation, already thinking about which bridge would be best to throw herself off of later. Wait, Lily stopped but didn't turn around. I didn't say no. She turned slowly. He was watching her with an expression she couldn't read, something between curiosity and amusement, maybe? You didn't say yes either, she pointed out. No, I didn't. He studied her for a long moment. You got a name? Lily Dawson. Ethan. He didn't offer a last name. And you're serious about this? The $5,000? The fake marriage? All of it? Deadly serious. Why not just tell your grandmother the truth? That you're not married, you're fine on your own, she doesn't need to worry? Lily felt her throat tighten. Because she is dying. Maybe not from this surgery, but eventually. And she spent her whole life taking care of me, and now she's asking for one thing, one small thing that would let her go into that operating room with peace. And I can't, her voice cracked, I can't give her the real version, but I can give her this. Ethan was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, when would we start? Lily's heart jumped. You're actually considering this? I'm considering a lot of things right now. When would we start? Tomorrow? She wants to meet you as soon as possible. And the surgery's Friday morning, 7 a.m. So I'd need to be there for that. If you could, yes. Lily felt hope starting to build, dangerous and fragile. But I understand if that's too much. I'll do it. She blinked. What? I'll do it, Ethan repeated, on one condition. Anything. You tell me the truth. Right now. Is this some kind of scam? Are you going to drug me and steal my kidneys or... What? No. Lily almost laughed at the absurdity. I'm a waitress, not a black market organ harvester. I literally just got off a double shift at the diner. You can smell the grease on me if you want proof. He cracked the smallest smile. I'll take your word for it. So you'll really do it? You'll pretend to be my husband? I'll pretend to be your husband, he confirmed, for $5,000 and 2 days of my life. But we need to set some ground rules. Okay? Yes, whatever you need. First, we need a story. How we met, how long we've been together, all that. Your grandmother's going to ask questions. Right, okay, we can figure that out. Second, I'm going to need some information. Her name, her medical situation, family members I might meet. Background on you too. If we're selling this, I need to know who I'm supposed to be married to. Lily nodded, pulling out her phone. I can write all that down, send it to you. Third. He hesitated and for the first time looked slightly uncomfortable. I have a daughter, she's 5, and I need to make sure she's taken care of while I'm doing this. So there might be times I have to step away, take calls, that kind of thing. You have a daughter? Something warm bloomed in Lily's chest. A man who was a father, who worried about his kid, that felt safer somehow, more real. That's fine, completely fine. I don't want to disrupt your life. You're asking me to pretend to be your husband. It's already disruptive. But his tone wasn't unkind. Look, I'm not going to lie that this is the weirdest thing anyone's ever asked me to do. But I've got my own reasons for saying yes. Which are? Private. He pulled out his phone. Give me your number. We should meet tomorrow. Go over everything before we see your grandmother. Make sure we have our story straight. Lily rattled off her number, watched him type it in, felt her phone buzz a moment later with a text. Ethan. Just his name. No last name, no details. Tomorrow morning? She asked. I have the early shift at the diner, but I'm off by 2. 11 works better for me. I can meet you. He glanced around. You know the park on Boylston, near the public garden? Yeah. Meet me there. 11 a.m. We'll talk through everything and then maybe grab lunch after. Somewhere your grandmother might believe we'd go on a date. You've really thought this through. One of us has to. He picked up his coffee, took a sip, made a face. This is cold. Figures. There's a whole coffee shop right there, Lily pointed out, nodding toward the door he'd just exited. They close at 9. I was hoping to catch them, but he shrugged. Doesn't matter. I should get going anyway. My daughter's with a sitter, and I try not to stay out too late. Okay, thank you. Seriously, Thank you. Don't thank me yet. We haven't even started lying to your grandmother. He started walking toward the parking lot, then paused. Hey, Lily? Yeah? You're either the bravest person I've ever met, or the most desperate. I haven't decided which yet. Probably both, Lily admitted. He smiled, a real one this time, small but genuine. See you tomorrow. She watched him walk away, climb into a car she couldn't see clearly in the dim light, and drive off. Then she stood there in the parking lot for 5 full minutes, trying to process what had just happened. She'd done it. She'd actually done it. She'd hired a complete stranger to be her fake husband. This was either going to save her grandmother's peace of mind or destroy what was left of Lily's sanity. Possibly both. Probably both. Definitely both. I'm going to hell, she muttered to no one in particular. Her phone buzzed. Text from Ethan. Forgot to ask, when's the actual wedding supposed to have happened? Need to know how long we've been married. Lily stared at the message, then typed back. We can figure that out tomorrow. Get home safe. You too. She got in her car, drove toward the bookstore for her night shift, and tried very hard not to think about all the ways this could go catastrophically wrong. The next morning, Lily woke up convinced she'd hallucinated the entire thing. She checked her phone. No, there was Ethan's number. There was their brief text exchange. There was the plan to meet at 11 a.m. in the park. Oh, God, she said to her ceiling. I actually did that. Her apartment was tiny, a studio in Alston that cost too much for what it was. But she'd lived here for 4 years and the landlord was decent and the neighbors were quiet. She'd made it cozy despite the size. String lights around the window, plants she somehow kept alive despite her schedule, a bookshelf made of milk crates and boards holding her precious collection of secondhand novels. On the wall above her bed was a photo of her and her grandmother from last Christmas, both of them laughing at something Lily's friend had said. Eleanor looked healthy in that photo. Happy. So different from the frail woman in the hospital bed yesterday. Lily's alarm went off. 6:30 a.m. Time to get ready for her shift at the diner. She dragged herself out of bed, showered in the bathroom the size of a closet, pulled on her usual uniform of jeans and the diner's required polo shirt. Her reflection looked exhausted. Dark circles under her eyes, hair that needed a wash but would have to wait another day, stress written in every line of her face. Great. This was who Ethan was supposed to pretend to be married to. She tried to remember what he'd looked like. Tall, yes, dark hair, nice voice. But the specifics were already getting fuzzy, replaced by anxiety about whether he'd actually show up or if this was some elaborate prank. No. He'd show up. He'd seemed genuine. Weird, maybe, for agreeing to this. But genuine. At least she hoped so. Because if he didn't show up, she had no backup plan. The morning shift at the diner was chaos. New guy dropped an entire tray of breakfast plates. Coffee machine broke. Marco discovered they were out of hash browns 20 minutes into rush, which meant angry customers and creative substitutions. Lily moved through it on autopilot, smiling, apologizing, refilling coffee, trying not to check her phone every 5 minutes to see if Ethan had texted to cancel. You're vibrating, Shanice said around 10:30, wiping down the counter next to where Lily was organizing ketchup bottles. What? You. You're vibrating, like a phone on silent. What's going on? Lily debated lying, decided she was too tired. I hired a fake husband. Shanice stopped mid-wipe. You what? For my grandmother, before the surgery. Long story. Lily. I know it's crazy. But it's done, and I'm meeting him at 11 to go over our cover story, and if he doesn't show up, I'm going to walk into the ocean. Girl, Shanice set down her rag, grabbed Lily's shoulders. Please tell me you at least met this person in public. Please tell me someone knows where you're going. I met him in the parking lot last night, and I'm meeting him in the park, which is very public. Did you get his last name? Lily hesitated. Lily? It's fine. He has a daughter. He told me about his daughter. Psychopaths don't do that, right? Psychopaths do whatever they need to do to seem trustworthy. But Shanice softened slightly. Okay. You're doing this thing. Fine. Text me when you get there. Text me every hour while you're with him. And if anything feels even slightly wrong, you get out of there. Deal? Deal. I'm serious, Lily. I don't care if your grandmother's surgery is tomorrow. Your safety comes first. I know. And I appreciate you caring, but I'm going to be fine. Shanice looked skeptical, but nodded. You want me to come with you? I could pretend to just happen to be walking through the park. No, I need to do this on my own. Lily squeezed her friend's hand. But thank you, really. At 10:45, Lily clocked out, changed into the only decent clothes she'd brought, dark jeans and a green sweater that didn't have any stains, and headed for the park. Ethan was already there. Lily spotted him sitting on a bench near the pond, wearing different clothes than last night, gray pants, a white button-down with the sleeves rolled up, but the same slightly overwhelmed expression. He was also surrounded by ducks, not metaphorically, literally surrounded. There had to be at least a dozen of them, waddling around his feet, quacking expectantly. As Lily got closer, she realized why. He was tossing breadcrumbs to them from a paper bag. You're early, she said by way of greeting. He looked up, and she saw relief flash across his face. You showed up. Did you think I wouldn't? I thought there was a 50-50 chance last night was a stress-induced hallucination. He tossed another handful of bread to the ducks, who attacked it with enthusiasm. But here we are. Here we are. Lily sat down next to him, maintaining a careful distance. So, fake marriage. Fake marriage, he agreed. A particularly aggressive duck tried to climb onto his shoe, and he gently shooed it away. I made a list of things we need to cover. Hope that's okay. That's actually really helpful. He pulled out his phone, opened the Notes app. Basic timeline. I'm thinking we say we met about 8 months ago. Long enough to be serious, not so long that your grandmother would be hurt you didn't tell her sooner. That makes sense. How'd we meet? Coffee shop's cliché, but believable. Or we could say mutual friends. Bookstore, Lily blurted out. I work at one part-time. We could say you came in looking for something. We started talking, hit it off. Ethan nodded, typing. Works for me. What bookstore? The Page Turner on Newbury Street. Got it. What was I looking for? Lily thought about it. Something for your daughter, kids' books. And I helped you find the perfect one, and we ended up talking for an hour about, I don't know, books, life, whatever people talk about when they're falling in love. Something flickered in his expression, too fast for her to catch. Okay, 8 months ago, bookstore, bonded over children's literature. When did we start officially dating? A week later, you came back, asked me to coffee. And I waited a week because you're cautious. You have a daughter to think about. You don't just date anyone. Fair. More typing. When did we get married? This was the tricky part. We could say it was recent, like last month, small ceremony, just us and a couple witnesses. That's why my grandmother didn't know. We wanted to keep it quiet, figure out how to tell people. Why'd we keep it quiet? Because, Lily scrambled for a reason. Because your late wife. She stopped, realizing what she'd just implied. Ethan had gone very still. I'm sorry, Lily said quickly. I shouldn't have assumed. You said you had a daughter. I thought maybe... You're right. His voice was carefully neutral. My wife died 3 years ago, and you're right that I'd be careful about introducing someone new to my daughter. So that works for the story. I'm sorry for your loss. Thank you. He didn't look at her, just kept tossing bread to the ducks. So we kept the marriage quiet because I was worried about how my daughter would react, and we were planning to tell people gradually, but then your grandmother got sick and we moved up the timeline. Yes, exactly. Lily hesitated. Is that is that too close to real life? I don't want to make you uncomfortable. It's fine. It's a good story. Believable. He put his phone away. What else does your grandmother need to know about me? Your job. She'll definitely ask about that. I work in business, international consulting. It's boring, but it pays well. Okay, do you travel a lot? Some, but I try to keep it minimal because of my daughter. What's her name? Your daughter? Again, that flicker of something in his expression. Sophie. Sophie, Lily repeated. That's pretty. She's named after my late wife's grandmother. He pulled out another piece of bread, examined it. She's 5, like I said, obsessed with dinosaurs right now. Wants to be a paleontologist when she grows up, except she can't pronounce it, so she says fossil doctor. Despite everything, Lily smiled. That's adorable. She's the best thing that ever happened to me. The way he said it, simple, certain, no room for doubt, made something in Lily's chest ache. What must it be like to love someone that much? To be loved that much in return? Your grandmother, Ethan said, pulling her back to the present. Tell me about her. Not the medical stuff, just who is she? So Lily told him. She told him about Eleanor's terrible jokes, her obsession with game shows, the way she still cut coupons even though the stores didn't accept most of them anymore. About how she'd taught Lily to cook, to budget, to stand up for herself. About Sunday dinners and holiday traditions, and the time Eleanor had marched into Lily's high school to give the principal a piece of her mind about the bullying Lily had been enduring. She sounds fierce, Ethan said. She is. Lily swallowed hard. The surgery is to repair an aortic aneurysm. They caught it early, which is good, but it's still major. And she's 78, and she's already had 2 heart attacks, so the risks are higher. But you think she'll make it through? I have to believe that. Because the alternative is... Lily couldn't finish that sentence. Ethan was quiet for a moment, then he said, My wife died in a car accident. Drunk driver, wrong place, wrong time. 1 minute she was here, the next she wasn't. And the thing nobody tells you about grief is that it doesn't make sense. You can know logically that someone's going to die, that everyone dies eventually, and still not be prepared for it when it happens. I'm sorry, Lily said quietly. My point is, your grandmother's lucky to have someone who loves her enough to do something this crazy, even if it is a lie. Does that make me a terrible person? Lying to her? I don't know. Does it make me a terrible person for agreeing to help you do it? Lily thought about that. Maybe we're both terrible. Or maybe we're both just trying our best in a situation with no good options. I like that better. They sat in silence for a while, watching the ducks waddle around the pond. The sun was warm on Lily's face. The park was full of people enjoying the October afternoon, and for just a moment she let herself forget about the surgery, the debt, the lie she was about to tell. We should probably practice, Ethan said eventually. Practice what? Being married. Body language. The way we talk to each other. Your grandmother's going to notice if we're stiff around each other. He was right. Lily hated that he was right. Okay, how do we do that? Ethan stood, offered her his hand. First step. Get comfortable touching each other. Nothing weird, he added quickly. Just casual contact. The kind married people do without thinking about it. Lily took his hand, let him pull her to her feet. His grip was warm, solid, calloused in a way that surprised her. You don't have office hands, she said without thinking. He raised an eyebrow. Office hands? Soft, from typing all day. She realized she was still holding his hand and dropped it quickly. Never mind, that was weird. I work out, he said, amused. Lift weights, do some boxing, helps with stress. Oh. Okay, so we're married, we're comfortable with each other. When we walk, I might... He moved slightly closer, resting his hand lightly on the small of her back. Like this. Nothing possessive, just there. Is that okay? It was weird, but not in a bad way. Lily nodded. And you might... He paused. What would you do? If we were really together? Lily thought about the couples she'd seen, the easy intimacy that came with time. Maybe hold your arm, like this? She slipped her hand through the crook of his elbow. That works. They started walking slowly around the pond, and it felt absurdly formal, like they were in a Jane Austen novel. This is ridiculous, isn't it? Completely ridiculous. But Lily was starting to relax slightly. Though, if we were really married, I'd probably make fun of you for feeding the ducks. That's such a dad thing to do. It is a dad thing to do. Sophie loves ducks. I have about 1,000 photos of her chasing them in various parks. Show me. He pulled out his phone, scrolled through his photos, and there she was. A little girl with dark curls and her father's eyes, grinning at the camera with a gap-toothed smile, holding what appeared to be a stuffed triceratops. She's beautiful, Lily said honestly. She looks like her mother. Ethan's voice went soft. Same smile. Same way of looking at the world like it's full of possibilities. Lily's heart twisted. I'm sure her mother would be proud of her. I hope so. He put the phone away. Okay, so teasing is good, shows we're comfortable. What else? They spent the next hour walking around the park, building their story, learning how to act like two people who'd chosen each other. Ethan turned out to have a dry sense of humor that snuck up on you, and Lily found herself laughing more than she had in weeks. By the time they stopped for lunch at a small cafe near the park, she'd almost forgotten this was fake. Almost. When do I meet your grandmother? Ethan asked over sandwiches. Tonight? Visiting hours are until 8. We could go around 6, stay for an hour or so. Works for me. Sophie's with my sister tonight, so I'm free. Your sister knows about this? God, no. She'd kill me. He took a bite of his sandwich. As far as my family knows, I'm helping out a friend with some business stuff. Which isn't entirely a lie. This is definitely business. The weirdest business arrangement in history. I don't know. I bet there have been weirder. He paused. So, 6 o'clock. Where should I pick you up? You don't have to... Lily, we're supposed to be married. I'm not letting my wife take the bus to the hospital. The casual way he said, my wife, sent a strange shiver down her spine. This was going to be harder than she thought. Ethan picked her up at 5:30 in a car that made Lily do a double take. It wasn't flashy, exactly. Black sedan, clean lines, nothing that screamed wealth. But it was new and quiet. And when she slid into the passenger seat, the leather was so soft it felt like sitting on a cloud. Nice car, she said, trying to sound casual. It's practical. Ethan pulled away from the curb smoothly. Good safety ratings. Sophie's car seat fits well in the back. Lily glanced behind her, and sure enough, there was a booster seat with cartoon dinosaurs on it. Something about that detail made her relax slightly. This was real. He was real. A dad with a kid and a safe car and a normal life. Even if nothing about this situation was remotely normal. You nervous? Ethan asked. Terrified. Want to practice the story one more time? I think if we practice anymore, I'm going to forget what's real and what's fake. Lily twisted her hands in her lap. What if she doesn't believe us? What if she sees right through it? Then we adjust. Answer her questions. Stay calm. He glanced over at her. Hey, we got this. You love her, and you're doing this because you love her. That part's real. Everything else is just details. Just details, Lily repeated. Right. Super simple. No pressure. Exactly. There was the hint of amusement in his voice, though you might want to stop wringing your hands like you're about to confess to a crime. That's not really the body language of a happily married woman. Lily immediately stopped, then felt ridiculous for being so obvious. Sorry. Don't apologize, just breathe. We're two people who fell in love and got married. That's it. That's the whole story. If only it were that simple. The hospital parking garage was packed, and by the time they found a spot and made their way inside, Lily's heart was hammering so hard she was surprised Ethan couldn't hear it. They rode the elevator to the 4th floor in silence, and with each passing floor, Lily felt her anxiety ratchet higher. Lily, Ethan said quietly. She looked up at him. I need you to take my hand. What? Your grandmother's going to be watching us from the moment we walk in that room, so I need you to take my hand, and I need you to look at me like you're happy I'm here. Can you do that? Lily swallowed hard, then slipped her hand into his. His fingers closed around hers, warm and steady, and she was surprised by how much it helped. Better, he said. Now smile. I can't just smile on command. Sure you can. Think about something that makes you happy. Like what? I don't know, puppies. Winning the lottery? That sandwich we had for lunch was pretty good. Despite herself, Lily felt her lips twitch. You're ridiculous. There it is. His own smile was small but genuine. See? Not so hard. The elevator dinged. Fourth floor. Lily took a breath, squeezed Ethan's hand, and stepped out into the hallway. Eleanor's room was at the end of the corridor, past the nurse's station where a tired-looking woman in scrubs was arguing with someone on the phone about insurance. The door was partially open, and through it Lily could hear the low murmur of the television. Ready? Ethan asked. No, Lily thought. Not even remotely. Yes, she said. They walked in together. Eleanor was sitting up in bed, looking significantly better than she had yesterday. Someone had helped her wash her hair, and she was wearing her own nightgown instead of the hospital gown, and there was color in her cheeks that had been absent before. She looked up when they entered, and her face transformed. Lily! Then her gaze shifted to Ethan, and something sharp and assessing entered her expression. And you must be the mystery husband. Guilty as charged. Ethan's whole demeanor shifted, became warmer, more open. He crossed to the bed, still holding Lily's hand, and offered Eleanor his free hand. Ethan Blackwood, it's wonderful to finally meet you, Mrs. Dawson. Lily's told me so much about you. Eleanor shook his hand, her grip surprisingly firm. Has she now? Funny, she hasn't told me anything about you until yesterday. Gran, Lily started, but Eleanor waved her off. I'm not judging, sweetheart. I'm just observing. Her eyes never left Ethan's face. Sit down, both of you. I want to hear everything. They sat in the two chairs next to the bed, and Lily was acutely aware of how closely Eleanor was watching them, looking for cracks in the story maybe, or just trying to understand how her granddaughter had managed to get married without telling her. So, Eleanor said, Ethan Blackwood. What do you do, Ethan? I work in international business consulting. Boring stuff, mostly. Helping companies expand into new markets, that kind of thing. And you live in Boston? Just outside. I have a daughter, so I wanted somewhere with good schools, safe neighborhoods. Eleanor's eyebrows rose. A daughter? How old? 5. Her name's Sophie. And her mother? The question hung in the air for a moment, heavy with implications. Passed away 3 years ago, Ethan said quietly. Car accident. Eleanor's expression softened immediately. I'm so sorry. Thank you. Ethan's hand tightened slightly on Lily's. It's been hard, but Sophie's an amazing kid, and she keeps me going. I'm sure she does. Eleanor studied him for another long moment, then seemed to come to some internal decision. Well, I suppose you should tell me how this happened, how you two ended up married without me knowing about it. Lily opened her mouth, but Ethan beat her to it. That's my fault, actually, he said. When Lily and I started getting serious, I was worried about introducing someone new into Sophie's life. She's been through so much already, losing her mother. I didn't want to confuse her or make her think I was trying to replace her mom. So you kept it quiet, Eleanor said. We kept it quiet, Ethan agreed, which I know wasn't fair to you, but Lily wanted to respect my pace, give me time to figure out how to tell Sophie. And then we realized we didn't want to wait anymore, so we went to City Hall last month. Just us and 2 witnesses. No family, no celebration. We were planning to have a proper reception later, Lily added quickly. Once we told everyone, but then you got sick and you decided to tell me now. Eleanor's gaze shifted between them. Because you thought I might not make it through the surgery. Gran, no. Lily, sweetheart, I'm old, not stupid. But there was no anger in Eleanor's voice, just a bone-deep weariness. I know the risks. I know what could happen on that table, and I know you well enough to know you wouldn't keep something like this from me unless you had a good reason. I'm sorry, Lily whispered. Don't be sorry. Be honest with me. Eleanor reached out, took Lily's free hand. Do you love him? Lily froze. She'd prepared for questions about the timeline, about how they met, about logistics. She hadn't prepared for this. She looked at Ethan, who was watching her with an expression she couldn't read. Yes, she heard herself say. I love him. And you? Eleanor turned to Ethan. Do you love my granddaughter? More than I thought I could love anyone again, Ethan said without hesitation. She's stubborn and bossy, and she works too hard and she never asks for help even when she needs it. And I love all of it. I love her." The words were so sincere, so perfectly delivered, that for a second Lily almost believed them herself. Eleanor's eyes were suspiciously bright. "Well then, I suppose I can't be too angry about missing the wedding if you two are this happy." "We'll have another one," Lily said impulsively, "after you're recovered. A real celebration, with you there. I promise." "I'll hold you to that." Eleanor squeezed her hand, then released it. "Now, Ethan, tell me how you and Lily met. And I want details, real details, not the sanitized version." So Ethan told her about the bookstore, about looking for a gift for Sophie, about Lily appearing from behind a stack of books with recommendations and opinions, and a smile that made him want to stay longer than he'd planned. He told the story like he'd lived it, with small details that felt real, the rain that had started while they talked, the coffee shop next door where they'd continued the conversation, the way Lily had written her number on a bookmark instead of just giving it to him straight. "A bookmark," Eleanor said, delighted. "That's very you, Lily." "I thought it was charming," Ethan said, glancing at Lily with a small smile. "Though she did make me work for that first date. I asked her to dinner 3 times before she said yes." "I was busy," Lily protested, falling into the rhythm of the lie easier than she'd expected. "I had 2 jobs, remember? You still have 2 jobs, which we should probably talk about." "Don't start, I'm just saying you don't need to work yourself into the ground anymore. We're married now. We're a team." "I like my jobs." "I know you do. I'm not asking you to quit. Just maybe cut back on the hours. Spend some time figuring out what you actually want to do instead of just surviving." Eleanor was watching this exchange with barely concealed amusement. "He's got a point, sweetheart." "Don't encourage him," Lily said, but she was smiling despite herself. They stayed for another hour, and somewhere in the middle of it, Lily stopped thinking about the performance and just talked. About work, about the neighborhood, about the book club Eleanor had been part of before she got sick. Ethan jumped in with comments and questions that showed he was actually listening, actually engaged, and more than once Lily caught herself forgetting this was fake. He was good at this. Too good. When a nurse came in to check Eleanor's vitals and mentioned that visiting hours were ending soon, Lily felt an unexpected pang of disappointment. "We should let you rest," Ethan said, standing, "but we'll be back tomorrow, and I'll be here Friday morning, before the surgery." "Both of you will be here," Eleanor said firmly. "Both of us," Lily confirmed. "I wouldn't be anywhere else." Eleanor pulled her into a hug, and Lily breathed in the familiar scent of lavender and peppermint, trying not to think about how fragile her grandmother felt. "Thank you for bringing him," Eleanor whispered in her ear. "He seems like a good man." "He is," Lily whispered back, and meant it. Ethan shook Eleanor's hand again, then surprised both of them by leaning down and kissing her cheek. "Get some rest, Mrs. Dawson. I'll see you tomorrow." "Call me Eleanor. We're family now." "Eleanor," he corrected with a smile. They left the room hand in hand, and Lily didn't let go until they were in the elevator. Doors closed, no one watching. "That went well," Ethan said. "She bought it." Lily leaned against the elevator wall, suddenly exhausted. "I can't believe she actually bought it." "Why wouldn't she? We were very convincing." "You were very convincing. That whole thing about loving me being stubborn and bossy. Where did that come from?" "You are stubborn and bossy." His tone was matter-of-fact. "You hired a complete stranger to be your fake husband rather than disappoint your grandmother. That takes a special kind of stubborn. I prefer to think of it as determined." "Sure. Let's go with that." They drove back to Lily's apartment in comfortable silence, and when Ethan pulled up to the curb, Lily hesitated before getting out. "Thank you," she said, "for tonight, for being so good with her. You didn't have to be that convincing." "Yeah, I did. That was the deal. Still, I appreciate it." She reached for the door handle, then paused. "Same time tomorrow?" "Actually, I was thinking—" Ethan drummed his fingers on the steering wheel. "Your grandmother's going to expect us to be living together, right? Married couple, shared space, all that. I guess? I hadn't really thought about it. She might ask to see photos of your place. Or she might ask me questions about it that I won't know how to answer. So maybe I should actually see where you live, just in case." Lily blinked. "You want to come up to my apartment?" "Only if you're comfortable with it, but it might help sell the story." He had a point. a frustratingly logical point. Okay, Lily said, but I'm warning you, it's small, like really small, and I didn't clean because I wasn't expecting company. I live with a 5-year-old. I've seen worse. Lily's apartment was on the 3rd floor of a building with no elevator, and by the time they reached her door, she was very aware of how out of breath she was compared to Ethan, who looked like he could climb another 3 flights without breaking a sweat. Sorry, she said, fumbling with her keys. I keep meaning to get in better shape, but between work and… Lily, breathe. I'm not judging you. The apartment was exactly as she'd left it that morning. Bed unmade, breakfast dishes in the sink, yesterday's clothes draped over the chair. She watched Ethan take it in. The tiny space, the makeshift furniture, the obvious signs of someone barely scraping by, and felt a flush of embarrassment creep up her neck. I know it's not much. It's home, Ethan said simply. He walked over to the bookshelf, scanning the titles. You weren't kidding about loving books. They're cheaper than therapy. He pulled one out, a battered copy of Pride and Prejudice, and flipped through it. You've read this about 100 times. How can you tell? The spine's practically falling apart, and you've got notes in the margins. He showed her a page where teenage Lily had scrawled yes next to a particularly romantic passage. This is cute. That's embarrassing, is what it is. Lily tried to take the book from him, but he held it out of reach, grinning. Why? Everyone has books they love. Yeah, but I was 17 when I wrote that. I thought Mr. Darcy was the height of romance. And now? Now I know he'd be insufferable in real life. Rich, brooding guy who insults the heroine and then expects her to fall at his feet? No, thank you. Fair point. Ethan put the book back carefully. So what's your type now? The question caught her off guard. I haven't really thought about it. Come on, humor me. We're supposed to be married. I should know what kind of guy my wife is into. You, apparently, Lily said without thinking, then immediately wanted to die. But Ethan just laughed. Right, the international business consultant who feeds ducks in the park. Very mysterious and romantic. You mock, but the duck thing was actually pretty endearing. Yeah? He looked genuinely pleased. Sophie thinks I'm a huge dork for doing it. Sophie's 5. Everything parents do is dorky when you're 5. True. He wandered over to the window, looked out at the street below. This is a good neighborhood. Safe. Safe-ish. There was a break in 2 buildings over last month, but yeah, it's okay. You live here alone? Just me. Had a roommate until last year, but she moved in with her boyfriend. Lily started gathering up the breakfast dishes, suddenly needing something to do with her hands. It's been kind of nice, actually. Quiet. Lonely, though. It wasn't a question. Sometimes, Lily admitted, but I'm busy enough that I don't really notice. Ethan turned from the window, and the look on his face was hard to read. You shouldn't have to be so busy you don't notice you're lonely. Says the single dad working in international business. I bet you barely have time to breathe. That's different. How is it different? Because I have Sophie. I'm never really alone. And I have my grandmother. Same thing. It's not the same. He moved closer, and Lily was suddenly very aware of how small the apartment was, how close he was standing. You're 30 years old, Lily. You should have friends, hobbies, a life outside of work and taking care of someone else. I have friends, kind of, and my life is fine. Is it? The question hung between them, uncomfortably honest. Why do you care? Lily asked quietly. I don't know. And he looked as confused by that as she felt. But I do. Lily's phone buzzed, breaking the moment. Text from Shanice. You still alive? Need proof of life, or I'm calling the cops. Sorry, Lily said, typing back quickly. My friend. She's been worried about me meeting up with a stranger. Smart friend. Yeah, Lily hesitated, then made a decision. Do you want to meet her? Tomorrow, maybe. She works at the diner with me, and she's been asking questions, and it might be good if you two actually met. Make the whole thing more believable. Sure. What time? I'm on the early shift, but I get a break around 11. You could come by then? Works for me. Ethan checked his own phone, frowned. I should get going. Sophie's probably driving my sister crazy by now. Okay, thanks again for tonight. Stop thanking me. You're paying me $5,000, remember? Lily had actually forgotten about that part. Right. Do you want, like, a down payment or something? After the surgery, no point until we know we've actually pulled this off. He moved toward the door and Lily followed, suddenly reluctant to see him go, which was insane. She'd known this man for less than 24 hours. She was paying him to pretend to care about her. None of this was real. Ethan? He turned back. Yeah? That thing you said to my grandmother. About loving me because I'm stubborn and work too hard and never ask for help. How did you know all that? He smiled slightly. You hired a stranger to be your fake husband rather than ask a friend for help. Wasn't hard to figure out. Right, of course. See you tomorrow, Lily. See you tomorrow. She closed the door behind him, leaned against it, and tried to ignore the fact that her heart was beating way too fast for someone who was just acting. The next morning brought a text from Ethan at 6 a.m. Sophie wants to know if you like dinosaurs. Lily stared at her phone, still half asleep. Tell Sophie I love dinosaurs. Why is she awake at 6 a.m.? Because she's 5 and has no concept of sleeping in. She also wants to know your favorite. Triceratops, they're underrated. She says that's acceptable, but velociraptors are clearly superior. She makes a compelling argument. She's very opinionated, gets it from her mother. Lily smiled at her phone, then caught herself. This was fake. The banter was fake. The getting to know you questions were fake. All of it was fake. Except it didn't feel fake when she showed up at the diner for her shift, and Ethan was already there, sitting at the counter with coffee and a newspaper, looking completely at ease. You're early, she said. Wanted to see you in your natural habitat. He folded the newspaper, watching her tie on her apron. Plus, the coffee here is actually pretty good. Don't let Margie hear you sound surprised by that. As if summoned, Margie appeared from the kitchen. New boyfriend? She asked, not bothering to lower her voice. Husband, actually, Ethan said before Lily could respond. He stood, offered his hand. Ethan Blackwood. You must be Margie. Lily's told me a lot about you. Margie's eyebrows climbed toward her hairline as she shook his hand. Husband. Well, that's new information. It's recent, Lily said quickly. We were going to tell everyone after Grand's surgery, but her grandmother wanted to meet me first, Ethan finished smoothly. Completely understandable. Family is important. Margie was giving him the same assessing look Eleanor had, and Lily held her breath, waiting for the verdict. Uh-huh, Margie said finally. Well, welcome to the family, I guess. You treat her right, you hear me? Yes, ma'am. Good. She turned to Lily. Table 6 needs refills, and the new guy called in sick again, so you're covering his section too. Got it. Lily grabbed the coffee pot and got to work, hyper-aware of Ethan watching her move through the morning routine. It felt strange having someone see this part of her life. Most people she knew from before had no idea she worked at a diner, or that she spent her nights shelving books at minimum wage. Shanice showed up for her shift at 10, took one look at Ethan, and immediately pulled Lily into the kitchen. That's the fake husband? She hissed. Yep. Girl, he's gorgeous. Where did you find him? Coffee shop parking lot. And he just agreed to this? I'm paying him. Not enough, apparently, because that man is looking at you like you're the only person in the room. Shanice peered through the kitchen window. He's still watching you. This is weird, right? This feels weird. It's all fake, Lily insisted. He's just a really good actor. If you say so. But Shanice didn't sound convinced. When Lily's break finally came, Ethan was still at the counter, now on his second cup of coffee and his phone. You didn't have to wait, she said, sliding onto the stool next to him. I wanted to. He pocketed his phone. Plus, your friend Shanice threatened me with bodily harm if I hurt you, and I wanted to make sure she saw me being properly attentive. She did not threaten you. She absolutely did. Said she knows people. Very specific people with very specific skills. Despite herself, Lily laughed. She watches too many action movies. I like her. She cares about you. Yeah, she does. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, and then Ethan said, I was thinking about tomorrow, the surgery. Lily's stomach dropped. What about it? What time do you want me there? You don't have to come that early. The surgery's not until 7, but they want her there by 5:30 for prep. So I'll be there at 5:30. Ethan, that's insane. You have Sophie to think about. My sister can handle the morning routine. I'll be there. He said it with such finality that Lily knew arguing would be pointless. Okay, she said quietly. Thank you. Stop thanking me. Stop being nice to me, and I will. He smiled at that. Deal. The rest of the day passed in a blur of work and worry and trying not to think about tomorrow. Ethan left around noon, and Lily tried not to notice how empty the diner felt without him there. She visited Eleanor again that evening, this time alone, and found her grandmother in good spirits. Where's Ethan? Eleanor asked. With his daughter, but he'll be here tomorrow morning. He's a good man, Lily. I can tell. Yeah, Lily said. He really is. You're lucky to have found him. Lily felt guilt twist in her chest. I know. And he's lucky to have found you. Don't forget that part. If only that were true. That night, Lily lay awake in her too small bed, staring at the ceiling, trying not to think about all the ways tomorrow could go wrong. The surgery, the lie, the fake husband who was starting to feel a little too real for comfort. Her phone buzzed, text from Ethan. Can't sleep either? How did you know I was awake? Lucky guess. You nervous about tomorrow? Terrified. Me too. That surprised her. Why are you nervous? Because I care about how this turns out, for you, for Eleanor. I know that wasn't part of the deal, but there it is. Lily stared at the message for a long time, trying to figure out what to say to that. Thank you, she finally typed, for caring. Stop thanking me. Stop giving me reasons to. Fair point. Get some sleep, Lily. Tomorrow's going to be a long day. You too. But sleep didn't come easily, and when her alarm went off at 4:30 a.m., Lily felt like she'd barely closed her eyes. She showered, dressed in clothes that seemed appropriate for sitting in a hospital waiting room for hours, and was just grabbing her keys when there was a knock at her door. Ethan stood in the hallway, holding 2 cups of coffee and looking as tired as she felt. Thought you might need this, he said, offering her one of the cups. You didn't have to come get me. Yes, I did. We're in this together, remember? Lily took the coffee, took a breath, and nodded. Together. They drove to the hospital through dark, empty streets, and Lily tried not to think about the fact that in a few hours, her grandmother would be on an operating table, and there was nothing Lily could do to protect her from what came next. Eleanor was already awake when they arrived, looking small and vulnerable in a hospital gown, her hair tucked under a surgical cap. There you are, she said, her voice shaky. I was worried you wouldn't make it. We'd never miss this, Lily said, taking her hand. How are you feeling? Scared, but ready. Ethan stood back, giving them space, but Eleanor waved him over. Come here, young man. I want both of you close. He moved to the other side of the bed, and Eleanor took his hand too, holding both of them tight. I want you to promise me something, she said. Both of you. Anything, Lily whispered. If something happens to me in there, Gran, don't. If something happens, Eleanor continued firmly, I want you to take care of each other. Lily, you've spent so long taking care of everyone else. Let Ethan take care of you for a change. And Ethan, you make sure she doesn't work herself to death trying to prove she doesn't need anyone. Can you both promise me that? Lily's vision blurred with tears. I promise. Ethan? He squeezed Eleanor's hand gently. I promise. I'll take care of her. Good. Eleanor's eyes were bright with unshed tears. That's all I needed to hear. A nurse appeared in the doorway. Mrs. Dawson, we're ready for you. And just like that, it was time. Lily held her grandmother's hand all the way to the pre-op area, memorizing every detail of her face, just in case. Ethan walked beside them, solid and steady. And when they finally had to say goodbye, when the surgical team was wheeling Eleanor away and Lily couldn't follow anymore, she felt his arm come around her shoulders. She's going to be okay, he said quietly. You don't know that. No, but I believe it anyway. They stood there until Eleanor disappeared through the surgical doors, and then Ethan guided Lily to the waiting room, sat her down in an uncomfortable plastic chair, and didn't let go of her hand. However long this takes, he said, I'm here. And for the first time since this whole insane arrangement started, Lily let herself lean on someone else. Let herself believe that maybe, just maybe, she didn't have to do this alone. The surgery took 6 hours. 6 hours of sitting in plastic chairs that made Lily's back ache, drinking vending machine coffee that tasted like battery acid, and watching the clock on the wall tick forward with agonizing slowness. Ethan stayed the entire time, leaving only once to take a phone call from his sister and once to bring back sandwiches from the cafeteria that neither of them ate. Around hour 4, Lily's hands started shaking so badly she had to sit on them. "Hey," Ethan said quietly. "Talk to me." "About what?" "Anything. Tell me about your parents." Lily blinked, surprised by the question. "Why?" "Because you're going to vibrate out of your skin if you don't think about something other than what's happening in that operating room. So talk to me." She took a breath, let it out slowly. "They died when I was 8. Car accident on the highway. Black ice, wrong time, wrong place. My dad was driving. My mom was in the passenger seat. They said it was instant, that they didn't suffer." "Do you believe that?" "I don't know. I hope so." Lily traced patterns on the armrest. "I don't remember much about them anymore. Just fragments. My dad singing off-key in the shower, my mom making pancakes on Sunday mornings, the way they used to dance in the kitchen when they thought I wasn't watching." "That sounds nice." "It was, and then it wasn't, and Gran stepped in and raised me like I was her own kid. Never once made me feel like a burden, even though I know I was. She was 53 years old, just starting to think about retirement, and suddenly she had an 8-year-old to take care of." "You weren't a burden." "You don't know that." "Yeah, I do." Ethan shifted in his seat to face her. "Because I saw the way she looked at you the other night. That's not the look of someone who resents what they gave up. That's the look of someone who'd do it all over again in a heartbeat." Lily felt tears prick her eyes. "I can't lose her, Ethan." "I know. She's all I have left." "I know," he said again, and this time he pulled her into a hug that she didn't know she needed until she was wrapped in it, breathing in the scent of his cologne and letting herself fall apart just a little. They stayed like that for a long time, and when Lily finally pulled away, Ethan handed her a napkin from the sandwich bag without comment. "Your turn," she said, wiping her eyes. "Tell me about your wife." He went very still. "You don't want to hear about that." "Yes, I do. Fair's fair. I told you about my parents." Ethan was quiet for so long that Lily thought he wasn't going to answer. Then he said, "Her name was Sarah. We met in college, got married too young, had Sophie even younger. Everyone said we were crazy, that we'd never make it, and maybe they were right, but we were happy. For a while, we were really happy." "What was she like?" "Smart, funny, terrible at cooking, but convinced she could master any recipe if she just tried hard enough. Our smoke alarm went off at least twice a week." He smiled slightly at the memory. "She wanted to change the world, literally. She was studying environmental law, planning to take on corporations and make them pay for what they were doing to the planet. And she would have done it too. She was that determined." "She sounds amazing." "She was. And then one night she went out to get diapers because we'd run out, and some drunk idiot decided he could make it through a red light, and that was it. Sophie was 2. She doesn't even remember her mother." "I'm so sorry." "Yeah, me too." Ethan rubbed his face. "The first year after was the hardest. I had no idea what I was doing. My sister moved in for a few months just to keep me functional. And Sophie, she was so little, she didn't understand why Mommy wasn't coming home. She'd ask for her every night at bedtime, and I'd have to explain all over again that Mommy was gone, and watch her little face crumple. And I just—" His voice broke, and Lily reached over and took his hand. "You got through it," she said quietly. "You're both still here." "Barely. There were days I wanted to just give up. Days where getting out of bed felt impossible. But Sophie needed me, so I got up anyway. And eventually it got easier. Not easy, just easier." "Is that why you said yes to this insane arrangement? Because you understood what it's like to lose someone?" Ethan looked at her for a long moment. "Partly. And partly because when you asked me, you looked so desperate and so determined at the same time, and it reminded me of me in those early days, trying to hold everything together with duct tape and pure stubbornness. I'm very good at stubbornness. I've noticed." They sat in silence after that, still holding hands, and Lily realized she was glad he was here. Not because of the arrangement, not because she was paying him, but because somehow in the span of 3 days this stranger had become someone she could lean on, which was dangerous, because none of this was real, and in a few days he'd be gone, and she'd be alone again. The thought sat heavy in her chest. Around hour 5, a surgical nurse came out to give them an update. The surgery was going well, everything proceeding as expected. Dr. Morrison would be out to speak with them as soon as Eleanor was in recovery. How much longer? Lily asked. Another hour or so. She's doing great. The relief was so intense, Lily had to sit down before her knees gave out. See? Ethan said. I told you she'd be okay. She's not out of surgery yet, but she's almost there, and she's doing great. That's what matters. Lily wanted to believe him, wanted to let herself feel hopeful instead of terrified, but she'd learned a long time ago that hope was dangerous, that it set you up for disappointment, that it was safer to expect the worst and be pleasantly surprised than to expect the best and be devastated. Still, Eleanor was doing great. That had to count for something. An hour and 15 minutes later, Dr. Morrison appeared in the waiting room doorway, still in his scrubs, looking tired but pleased. She did beautifully, he said. The repair went exactly as planned. No complications. She's in recovery now, and you can see her in about 30 minutes once she's awake. Lily burst into tears. Not delicate tears. Not pretty crying. Full-on ugly sobbing that she couldn't control. All the fear and stress and exhaustion of the past few days pouring out of her in messy, hiccuping waves. Ethan pulled her close again, and she cried into his shoulder while Dr. Morrison tactfully explained the next steps for recovery and what to expect over the coming weeks. She heard maybe half of it through the crying, but Ethan was nodding, asking questions, being the functional one, while Lily fell apart. When Dr. Morrison left, Lily finally managed to get herself under control. Sorry, she said, her voice wrecked. I'm sorry, Don't apologize. You've been holding that in for days. I got your shirt all wet. It'll dry. He handed her another napkin. Feel better? Actually, yeah, kind of. Good. Now let's go see your grandmother. Eleanor looked impossibly small in the recovery bed, hooked up to monitors and IVs, her skin pale against the white sheets. But her eyes were open, and when she saw Lily, she smiled. Hey, sweetheart, she said, her voice rough from the breathing tube. Hey, Gran? Lily took her hand carefully, mindful of the IV. How do you feel? Like someone cracked my chest open and rearranged my insides. But alive. Definitely alive. Dr. Morrison said the surgery went perfectly. Told you I was too stubborn to die. Eleanor's gaze shifted to Ethan. You stayed. Of course I stayed. All 6 hours? All 6 hours, he confirmed. You're a good man, Ethan Blackwood. Eleanor squeezed Lily's hand weakly. You take care of him. You hear me? Men like this don't come around often. I will, Lily promised, feeling the lie settle uncomfortably in her chest. They stayed with Eleanor until the nurses kicked them out, promising to come back during regular visiting hours. By the time they made it back to the parking garage, Lily was so exhausted she could barely walk straight. Come on, Ethan said, steering her toward his car. I'm taking you home. I can drive. Lily, you can barely stand. I'm taking you home. She was too tired to argue. The drive back to her apartment passed in a blur, and when Ethan pulled up to her building, Lily couldn't quite bring herself to get out of the car. Thank you, she said quietly, for everything, for staying, for being there, for holding me while I ugly cried all over you. You went way beyond what I was paying you for. I didn't do it for the money. Then why did you do it? Ethan was quiet for a moment. Because you needed someone, and I happened to be there. It wasn't the whole truth. Lily could tell by the way he said it, by the way he wasn't quite meeting her eyes. But she was too tired to push, and maybe she didn't want to know the real answer anyway. Get some sleep, Ethan said. I'll text you later. Okay. She opened the door, then paused. Ethan, we're supposed to keep this up for another day or so, right? Until Gran's stable enough that we can tell her we're going to wait on that second wedding? That was the plan. So we should probably figure out what happens next, with the arrangement. Yeah, we should. But he didn't sound enthusiastic about it. Tomorrow? Tomorrow, he agreed. Lily made it up to her apartment, collapsed onto her bed fully clothed, and fell asleep within minutes. She woke up 12 hours later to 17 missed calls and 43 text messages. Most of them were from Margie and Shanice, checking in, asking about the surgery, offering help. A few were from coworkers at the bookstore. One was from her landlord, reminding her that rent was due in 5 days, and 3 were from Ethan. The first, checking in. How's Eleanor? The second, 2 hours later, just realized you're probably asleep. Text me when you wake up so I know you're okay. The third, sent at midnight. Sophie wants to meet you. I told her about you and she's been asking questions all night. No pressure, but if you're up for it, maybe we could do dinner tomorrow. My place? I'll cook. Well, I'll order takeout and pretend I cooked. Same thing. Lily read the messages 3 times, trying to figure out what she felt about them. Sophie wanted to meet her. Ethan's 5-year-old daughter, who'd lost her mother 3 years ago, wanted to meet the fake wife. This was getting too complicated. She should say no, should start pulling back, creating distance, preparing for the inevitable end of this arrangement. But instead, she found herself typing, "Dinner sounds great. What time?" The response came back almost immediately. 6? I'll pick you up. I can drive myself. Lily, just let me pick you up, please. There was something in that please that made her give in. Okay, 6. She spent the rest of the day at the hospital with Eleanor, who was doing remarkably well considering she'd had major surgery less than 24 hours ago. The nurses said she'd probably be able to go home in 4 or 5 days if she continued to improve at this rate. Where's Ethan? Eleanor asked around lunchtime. With his daughter, but he'll visit tomorrow. Good. I like him. Eleanor shifted in the bed, wincing slightly. Have you told him yet? Told him what? That you're falling for him. Lily felt her face heat. Gran, I'm not. Please, I'm old, not blind. The way you two look at each other, the way you fit together, that's not fake, sweetheart. It's complicated. Love usually is. Eleanor's eyes were knowing. Just don't let fear stop you from being honest with him. You've spent so long being strong and independent, sometimes you forget it's okay to need someone. I don't need him, Lily said automatically. Maybe not, but you want him. And that's just as important. Lily didn't know what to say to that, so she changed the subject to Eleanor's physical therapy schedule and didn't bring up Ethan again. But she thought about what her grandmother said. Thought about it all afternoon, thought about it while getting ready for dinner, thought about it when Ethan showed up at her door at exactly 6 o'clock, looking unfairly good in jeans and a dark blue sweater. Ready? He asked. As I'll ever be. His apartment was nothing like what Lily had expected. It was in a nice neighborhood, sure, but the building itself was unremarkable. Modern, clean, but not ostentatious. They took the elevator to the 8th floor, and when Ethan unlocked the door, Lily stepped into a space that was clearly designed around a 5-year-old's needs. There were toys everywhere, not messily, but present. A bin of dinosaurs by the couch, a stack of picture books on the coffee table, drawings taped to the refrigerator. The furniture was nice but practical, the kind that could withstand spills and sticky fingers. Family photos lined the walls, and Lily spotted a beautiful woman with dark hair in several of them, always smiling, always next to Ethan. Sarah. Sophie, Ethan called. We're here. A small tornado of energy came barreling around the corner, skidding to a stop when she saw Lily. Sophie was even cuter in person than she'd been in photos. Dark curls pulled back in a lopsided ponytail, wearing a t-shirt with a T-Rex on it and mismatched socks, clutching a stuffed triceratops under one arm. You're Lily, she announced. I am. And you're Sophie. Daddy said you like dinosaurs. I do, especially triceratops. Sophie's eyes lit up. Me too. They're the best ones because they have 3 horns and they can defend themselves, and they're herbivores, which means they don't eat meat. I heard you want to be a fossil doctor when you grow up. A paleon? Sophie looked at her father for help. Paleontologist, Ethan supplied. That, Sophie said. I'm going to find all the dinosaurs and put them in museums so everyone can see them. That's a great plan. Sophie studied Lily for a moment, then seemed to come to a decision. Do you want to see my dinosaur collection? I'd love to. Come on! Sophie grabbed Lily's hand and dragged her down the hallway to a bedroom that was chaos personified. Toys, books, clothes, all mixed together in what appeared to be a very specific organizational system that only made sense to a 5-year-old. This is Terry, Sophie said, holding up the triceratops. And this is Rex, and this is Spike, and this is Sarah, she's named after my mommy, and this is Blue, like from the movie, and this is... She went through at least 20 dinosaurs, each with a name and a detailed backstory, and Lily sat on the floor and listened to all of it while Ethan watched from the doorway with an expression that made Lily's chest feel tight. Daddy said you and him got married, Sophie said eventually, setting down a plastic stegosaurus. Lily's heart jumped. He did? Uh-huh. Are you going to live here now? Sophie, Ethan said gently. We talked about this, remember? Lily has her own apartment. But married people live together. Sometimes. But sometimes they live separately for a while until they figure things out. Sophie frowned, clearly not satisfied with this answer. But if you're married, doesn't that mean you're going to be my mom now? The question hung in the air, heavy and complicated. Lily looked at Ethan, who looked stricken, and neither of them seemed to know what to say. Being married to your daddy doesn't make me your mom, Lily said carefully. You already had a mom, and she was wonderful, and nobody can replace her. I know that. Sophie's voice was matter-of-fact. But she's not here anymore. And Daddy said you're part of our family now, so I thought maybe you could be like a mom. Not instead of my real mom, just also. Lily felt something crack open in her chest. Sophie, you don't have to answer right now, Ethan said quickly. Let's go eat dinner. I ordered pizza. With pepperoni? Sophie asked. With pepperoni. Okay. And just like that, the heavy moment passed, and Sophie was racing back down the hallway toward the kitchen. Ethan and Lily followed more slowly. I'm sorry, he said quietly. I didn't know she was going to ask that. It's okay. It's not. I should have prepared you, should have… Ethan, it's okay. Lily stopped him with a hand on his arm. She's 5. She's trying to make sense of the world. I get it. Still, that was a lot. They ate pizza at the kitchen table while Sophie chattered about her day at kindergarten and the new dinosaur book her aunt had bought her, and how she'd learned to tie her shoes all by herself. Ethan smiled and engaged and asked questions, and Lily watched him be a father and felt something shift inside her that she couldn't quite name. After dinner, Sophie insisted on showing Lily her favorite movie, which turned out to be an animated film about dinosaurs that Lily had seen at least a dozen times during her own childhood. They settled on the couch, Sophie wedged between Lily and Ethan, and by the time the credits rolled, Sophie was asleep with her head on Lily's lap. I should put her to bed, Ethan said quietly. He scooped Sophie up carefully, and Lily watched them disappear down the hallway. She could hear murmured conversation, the sound of running water, Ethan's voice reading a bedtime story in soft tones. When he came back 15 minutes later, he looked exhausted. She okay? Lily asked. Out like a light. That movie always does it. He sat down next to her on the couch, leaving more space between them than Sophie had occupied. Thank you. For tonight. For being so good with her. She's easy to be good with. She's a great kid. She is. And she already adores you, which is probably going to make the end of this arrangement complicated. There it was. The thing neither of them had wanted to talk about. When do we end it? Lily asked. Gran's doing well. She'll be home in a few days. We could probably start the slow breakup process soon. Yeah, we could. Neither of them moved. Or, Ethan said slowly, we could not. Lily's heart started beating faster. What? We could not end it. We could keep doing this. See where it goes. Ethan, you realize how crazy that sounds, right? We barely know each other. This whole thing is fake. We're pretending. Are we? He turned to face her fully. Because it doesn't feel like pretending anymore. At least not for me. You're just saying that because why? Because you're paying me? Because I feel sorry for you? He shook his head. I'm saying it because over the last 3 days, I've gotten to know you, the real you. And I like what I see. I like how fiercely you love your grandmother. I like how you work 2 jobs and never complain. I like how you cry during surgery but joke about it 5 minutes later. I like how you sat on my daughter's floor for an hour and listened to her talk about plastic dinosaurs like it was the most important conversation in the world. Stop, Lily said, but her voice came out weak. Why? Because this isn't real. Because in 2 weeks or 2 months, you're going to realize I'm just a broke waitress with too much baggage, and you're going to regret ever agreeing to this insane arrangement. You really believe that? I have to believe that, because the alternative is hoping, and hope gets you hurt. Ethan reached over and took her hand. What if I told you I'm already hoping? That I have been since that first day in the park? Then I'd say you're crazy. Maybe I am. But I'm crazy about you. He said it simply, like it was a fact. And I think you feel something too, or you wouldn't be so scared right now. Lily wanted to deny it, wanted to pull her hand away and leave and go back to her safe, predictable, lonely life. But she couldn't, because he was right. She did feel something, had been feeling it since he sat with her through 6 hours of surgery, since he made her laugh in the park, since he looked at her like she was someone worth knowing instead of just someone worth pitying. I can't do this, she whispered. Why not? Because you're you and I'm me, and that doesn't make sense. You have money, you have a daughter, you have this whole life, and I have $1,700 in my checking account and 2 minimum wage jobs and student loan debt I'll probably never pay off. You think I care about any of that? You should care about it. It matters. The only thing that matters is whether we make each other happy. Everything else is just logistics. He squeezed her hand. Stay. Not tonight necessarily, but in general. Stay and let's figure this out together. Real marriage, real relationship, all of it. You're insane. Probably. But I'm also serious. Lily looked at their joined hands, then up at his face, trying to find the lie, the angle, the reason why a man like him would actually want someone like her. She couldn't find it, which meant either he was the world's best actor or he actually meant what he was saying. I need time, she said finally, to think about this, to figure out if you mean it or if you're just caught up in the drama of the situation. How much time? I don't know. A few days? A week? Take all the time you need. He brought her hand up and kissed her knuckles, a gesture so sweet and old-fashioned that it made her breath catch. But for the record, I'm not going anywhere, and I'm going to spend that time proving to you that I mean every word. Lily should have left then, should have called a car, gone home, put distance between herself and this impossible situation. Instead, she stayed for another hour, talking about everything and nothing, and when Ethan finally drove her home, she let herself imagine what it might be like if this was real, if she could actually have this. The next few days passed in a strange kind of limbo. Eleanor continued to improve, the doctors talking about discharge by Monday. Lily went to work, visited the hospital, and tried not to think about Ethan's offer every 5 minutes. She failed spectacularly. Ethan texted her constantly. Photos of Sophie, updates on his day, random observations that made her laugh. He showed up at the diner for lunch, at the bookstore during her evening shift, at the hospital when she was visiting Eleanor. Never pushy, never demanding, just present. He's persistent, Shanice observed on Wednesday. I'll give him that. He's delusional, Lily muttered, refilling salt shakers. Uh-huh. And that's why you light up every time he walks in the door. I do not. Girl, please. You're not fooling anyone. Maybe she wasn't fooling anyone. Maybe she'd stopped fooling herself too. On Thursday evening, Lily was leaving the hospital when she ran into someone she didn't recognize, a woman in her 30s, well-dressed, carrying a leather bag that probably cost more than Lily's rent. Excuse me, the woman said. Are you Lily Dawson? Lily's internal alarm bells started ringing. Who's asking? I'm Rebecca Blackwood, Ethan's sister. She offered her hand. I was hoping we could talk. Lily shook her hand cautiously. About what? About my brother, and this sudden marriage he's been telling the family about. Rebecca's smile didn't quite reach her eyes. Why don't we grab coffee? There's a cafe downstairs. Everything in Lily's body was screaming at her to run, but she found herself nodding anyway. They got coffee, found a quiet corner table, and Rebecca wasted no time getting to the point. How much is he paying you? Lily choked on her coffee. Excuse me? I'm not judging. I just want to know what we're dealing with here. Rebecca's voice was calm, almost clinical. Ethan's been through a lot. Lost his wife, raised Sophie basically alone, threw himself into work to cope. And now suddenly he's married to a woman none of us have ever met? It doesn't add up. Maybe he just wanted to keep his personal life private. Maybe. Or maybe he hired you for some reason I don't understand yet. Rebecca leaned forward. Look, I did some digging. You work at Margie's Diner and a bookstore. You're drowning in debt. Your grandmother just had major surgery, and somehow you ended up married to a man worth $900 million. The world tilted sideways. Sorry, what? You didn't know. Rebecca sat back, looking surprised. He didn't tell you. Tell me what? Lily's voice sounded far away. What are you talking about? Ethan, my brother, he's not just some business consultant. He's the CEO of Blackwood International, one of the largest private equity firms in the country. His net worth is somewhere around 900 million, last I checked. Lily couldn't breathe, couldn't think. The cafe seemed to be spinning around her. That's not possible, she said weakly. It's very possible and easily verifiable. Google him if you don't believe me. Rebecca pulled out her phone, typed something, then turned it around so Lily could see. And there he was, Ethan Blackwood, CEO of Blackwood International, in a business suit and a power stance, looking nothing like the man who fed ducks in the park and ordered pizza for his daughter. There were dozens of articles, Forbes profiles, investment news, photos of him at charity galas and business conferences and ribbon-cutting ceremonies, all of them featuring the man she'd paid $5,000 to pretend to be her husband. I need to go, Lily said, standing up so fast her chair scraped. Wait. But Lily was already moving, pushing through the cafe, through the hospital lobby, out into the parking lot where she could finally breathe. $900 million. CEO of a major company. He'd lied to her. He'd let her believe he was just a normal single dad with a normal job, and the whole time he'd been playing some kind of game she didn't understand. Her phone buzzed. Text from Ethan. Dinner tomorrow? Sophie wants you to come over again. Lily stared at the message, fury rising hot and fast in her chest. Another text. Or we could go out, just the two of us. I know a place. She called him. He answered on the first ring. Hey, I was just... Who are you? Lily demanded. Silence. I met your sister, she continued, her voice shaking. She told me some very interesting things about Blackwood International, about your net worth, about who you actually are. Lily, I can explain. You lied to me. You stood there and told me you worked in international consulting, and the whole time you're a billionaire CEO. What the hell, Ethan? It's not what you think. Then what is it? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you took a desperate woman's situation and turned it into some kind of entertainment. Was this fun for you, pretending to be normal, slumming it with the poor waitress? No, that's not... Lily, please, just let me explain in person. I don't want to see you in person. I don't want to see you at all. Tears were streaming down her face now. Stay away from me. Stay away from my grandmother. This arrangement is over. Lily, she hung up. Then she sat in her car in the hospital parking lot and cried until there was nothing left. Lily drove home on autopilot, her hands gripping the steering wheel so tight her knuckles went white. $900 million. The number kept circling her brain like a vulture. She'd offered a billionaire $5,000 to pretend to be her husband. She'd felt sorry for him, thought he was just a struggling single dad trying to make ends meet. What an idiot she'd been. Her phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Ethan calling, texting, leaving voicemails she deleted without listening to. By the time she pulled into her apartment building's lot, she'd blocked his number entirely. She made it up the 3 flights of stairs, into her tiny studio, and straight to her laptop. Her hands were still shaking as she typed his name into Google. The results were overwhelming. Pages and pages of articles, interviews, profiles. Ethan Blackwood, wunderkind, CEO, who'd taken over his father's struggling investment firm at 28 and turned it into a powerhouse. Ethan Blackwood at charity galas with celebrities and politicians. Ethan Blackwood quoted in the Wall Street Journal about market trends and economic forecasts. There was a photo from 2 years ago, him in a tuxedo at some black tie event, looking uncomfortable despite the expensive suit. The caption mentioned his late wife, Sarah, a rising environmental attorney who'd died tragically young, leaving behind her husband and infant daughter. That part, at least, had been true. But everything else? The modest apartment, the casual clothes, the way he'd acted like $5,000 was significant money instead of what he probably spent on lunch? All lies. Lily slammed the laptop shut and pressed her palms against her eyes until she saw stars. She'd started to believe him, started to think that maybe, impossibly, they could make this work. That maybe someone could actually want her for who she was instead of what she could do for them. And the whole time, he'd been lying to her face. Her phone lit up with a new number. She grabbed it, ready to block this one too, but the text stopped her cold. "This is Rebecca. I'm sorry for how I handled that. Can we talk? Please?" Lily stared at the message for a long moment, then typed back, "Why?" "Because my brother is currently losing his mind, and I think I made a terrible mistake." "Good. He deserves it." "Does he? Or did I just blow up something that might have been real because I'm overprotective and paranoid?" Lily didn't respond. After a few minutes, another text came through. "For what it's worth, I've never seen him look at anyone the way he looks at you, not even Sarah. And that terrifies me, but it also makes me think maybe I misjudged the situation." "You didn't misjudge anything. He lied to me." "Did he lie, or did he just not tell you everything?" "What's the difference?" "Intent, context, timing." A pause, then, "Meet me for breakfast tomorrow, just to talk. No ambushes, I promise. I'll even buy." Lily wanted to say no, wanted to delete the number and forget any of this had ever happened, but she found herself typing. "Where?" They met at a cafe near the hospital at 8 a.m. Rebecca was already there, looking significantly less polished than she had the day before. Tired eyes, hair pulled back in a messy bun, coffee cup clutched like a lifeline. "Thank you for coming," she said as Lily sat down. "I'm here, talk." Rebecca took a breath. "I owe you an apology. I jumped to conclusions yesterday and I hurt you and I possibly destroyed something important. I'm sorry." "Why did you think I was scamming him?" "Because it's happened before. After Sarah died, there was a parade of women who suddenly wanted to help the grieving widower. Women who showed up at his office, sent gifts to Sophie, found excuses to run into him at charity events. All of them very interested in his money, none of them actually interested in him. And you thought I was one of them. I thought you might be. The timeline seems suspicious, the sudden marriage, the secrecy, the fact that you work 2 minimum wage jobs and he's, well, him." Rebecca wrapped both hands around her coffee cup. "But then I went home and told him what I'd done, and he looked at me like I'd just killed his dog. And I realized I'd made a massive mistake. He still lied to me. He didn't tell you who he was. That's different." "How?" "Because from what he told me, you approached him. You offered him money to play a role. He accepted. He played the role. At what point was he supposed to say, 'By the way, I'm actually a billionaire'?" Lily opened her mouth to argue, then closed it, because Rebecca had a point, and she hated it. "He let me feel sorry for him," she said instead. "Let me think he was struggling, that $5,000 mattered. It did matter, just not for the reasons you thought." Rebecca leaned forward. "Lily, my brother has been functionally dead inside for 3 years, going through the motions, taking care of Sophie, running his company, but not actually living. And then he met you, and suddenly he was texting me about duck feeding strategies and asking what 5-year-olds eat for dinner when you're trying to impress someone. He was alive again." "Stop. I'm not trying to manipulate you. I'm trying to make you understand that whatever his reasons for not telling you about the money, it wasn't to hurt you. It was probably the opposite. He finally met someone who treated him like a person instead of a bank account." Lily felt tears prick her eyes and blinked them back furiously. "That doesn't make it okay." "No, it doesn't, but it might make it understandable." Rebecca hesitated. "He's been trying to call you." "I blocked him. I figured. He's been calling me instead, asking if I know where you are, if you're okay, if there's any way to fix this." She pulled out her phone, scrolled through something, then turned it around. It was a text thread between her and Ethan, dozens of messages, all from him, all increasingly desperate. "She won't talk to me. What do I do? I need to explain. Please, Rebecca, I'm begging you, just tell me she's okay. I can't lose her. Not like this." Lily looked away. "Stop showing me that." "Why? Because it's working?" Rebecca put the phone away. "Look, I don't know what's really going on between you two, but I know my brother, and I know he doesn't beg. Ever. The fact that he's doing it now tells me this is real for him." "It can't be real. We barely know each other." "Sometimes that's enough. Sometimes you just know." Rebecca stood up. "I'm not going to push you, but I am going to tell you where he'll be this afternoon. And if you decide you want to hear him out, you'll know where to find him." "Rebecca, 3 o'clock, the public garden, Same bench where you two first practiced being married. She pulled out her wallet, left money on the table for both their coffees. I really am sorry, Lily, for yesterday and for whatever part I played in this mess. Then she was gone, and Lily was left sitting alone with a cold coffee and a decision she didn't want to make. She went to work at the diner, moved through her shift like a zombie, and tried not to think about Ethan sitting on a bench waiting for her. You look terrible, Shanice said around noon. Thanks. What happened? Last I heard, things were going great with the fake husband. Turns out he's not who he said he was. Shanice raised an eyebrow. He's not a single dad? No, he's that. He's just also a billionaire CEO who let me think he was a normal person. Oh. Shanice was quiet for a moment. That's complicated. That's one word for it. You gonna talk to him? I don't know, maybe. Probably not. Lily refilled a coffee cup, set it down too hard, watched coffee slosh over the rim. He lied to me, Shanice. Did he? Or did he just not volunteer information you didn't ask for? Whose side are you on? Yours. Always yours. But I'm also trying to figure out what actually happened here. Shanice grabbed a rag, wiped up the spilled coffee. You approached him, right? Asked him to play a role? Yes. Did he ever say he was poor or struggling or that $5,000 was a lot of money to him? Lily thought back through their conversations. No, but he implied. Did he, though? Or did you assume? Why are you defending him? I'm not defending him. I'm making sure you're mad at him for the right reasons. Shanice tossed the rag into the sink. Because if you're mad that he lied, that's valid. But if you're mad that he turned out to be rich, that's something else entirely. I'm not mad that he's rich. Aren't you? Even a little bit? Shanice's voice was gentle. Because from where I'm standing, it sounds like you're mad that you felt sorry for him when you didn't need to. Like you're embarrassed that you offered him money he didn't need. Like you're scared that he was playing some kind of game with you. He was playing a game with me. Was he? Or was he just trying to be seen as Ethan instead of Ethan Blackwood, billionaire CEO? Lily didn't have an answer for that. Her shift ended at 2:30. She had 30 minutes to decide whether to go to the garden or go home. She went to the garden. Ethan was already there, sitting on their bench, feeding ducks from a paper bag. He looked exhausted, unshaven, rumpled, like he'd been wearing the same clothes for 2 days. He looked up when he heard her footsteps, and the relief on his face was so profound it hurt to see. You came, he said. I'm here. Doesn't mean I've forgiven you. I know. He set down the bread, stood up, kept his distance. Thank you for giving me a chance to explain. So explain. Ethan ran a hand through his hair, and Lily noticed it was shaking slightly. When you approached me that night outside the coffee shop, you saw me. Just me. Not my money, not my company, not the headlines or the speculation or the people who wanted something from me. You saw a guy who looked like he could use $5,000, and you took a chance. And you let me think. I let you think I was normal. Because I wanted to be normal. Just for a little while. His voice cracked slightly. Do you have any idea what it's like, being me? Everyone wants something. Everyone has an angle. Business deals, investments, donations, opportunities. Even dating is impossible because I never know if someone wants me or my bank account. So you lied. I didn't tell you the whole truth. That's different. How? Because I never said I was poor. I never said $5,000 mattered to me financially. I just didn't correct your assumptions. And I know that's still wrong. I know I should have told you, but I was so desperate to be seen as just Ethan that He broke off, looking miserable. I fell for you, Lily. Somewhere between the hospital and the diner and watching you play dinosaurs with my daughter, I fell for you. And I knew if you found out who I really was, everything would change. You were right. Everything did change. Because of who I am, or because I didn't tell you? Lily wanted to say both. Wanted to stay angry, stay hurt, stay safe behind her walls. But Shanice's question kept echoing in her head. Was she mad that he lied or mad that he was rich? I felt like an idiot, she said quietly, standing in that cafe, looking at articles about you, realizing I'd offered a billionaire $5,000, realizing you probably thought I was pathetic. I never thought you were pathetic. Didn't you? Poor little waitress, so desperate she'd hire a stranger to lie to her dying grandmother? No. Ethan moved closer, still leaving space between them. I thought you were brave and resourceful, and so full of love for your grandmother that you'd do anything to give her peace. I thought you were incredible. Stop. Why? Because you don't want to believe me? Because it's easier to think I was laughing at you than to consider that I might have actually meant everything I said? Lily wrapped her arms around herself. Your sister thought I was a con artist. My sister is overprotective and paranoid. She's also already apologized to me about 12 times for interfering. She was just looking out for you. I don't need looking out for. I need someone who sees me as more than a bank account or a business opportunity. His voice dropped. I need you. You don't even know me. I know you work yourself to exhaustion rather than ask for help. I know you love your grandmother enough to lie for her. I know you cry during surgery and make jokes 5 minutes later. I know you read Pride and Prejudice so many times the spine fell apart. I know you think Triceratops are underrated and you take your coffee black because you can't afford the fancy drinks, but you're too proud to admit it. He took another step closer. I know you, Lily. Maybe not everything, but enough to know I want to learn the rest. This is insane. Completely insane. But then again, so was hiring a stranger to be your fake husband, and you did that anyway. Despite everything, Lily felt her lips twitch. Are you really comparing yourself to that decision? If it gets you to smile, yes. She looked at him, really looked at him, saw the dark circles under his eyes, the tension in his shoulders, the way he was holding himself like he was braced for her to walk away. Why didn't you tell me, she asked. At the apartment, or during dinner with Sophie, or any of the dozen times you could have. Why keep lying? Because I was scared. Because I knew once you found out, you'd do exactly what you're doing now. You'd pull away, convince yourself this couldn't work, protect yourself from getting hurt. He took a shaky breath. And I knew if I lost you before you really knew me, I'd spend the rest of my life wondering what might have been. So you lied to protect yourself. No, I didn't tell you to protect us. What we were building, and I know that's not fair, and I know I should have trusted you with the truth, but I was so afraid of losing this, of losing you, that I made the wrong call. Lily was quiet for a long moment. A duck waddled over and pecked at her shoe, clearly hoping for food. I don't know if I can trust you, she said finally. I know. I don't know if this is real or if you're just bored and I'm something different and new. I'm not bored. And you're not a distraction. He stopped, seemed to be searching for words. You're the first person in 3 years who made me feel like living instead of just surviving. That's a lot of pressure to put on someone. I know. And I'm not asking you to fix me or save me or any of that dramatic nonsense. I'm just asking you to give me a chance, a real chance, to show you that I meant everything I said, money or no money. And if I can't, if I need time or space or just distance? Pain flashed across his face, but he nodded. Then I'll give you that, whatever you need. But I'm not giving up, Lily. I'm going to keep showing up, keep proving that this is real until you believe me. What if I never believe you? Then I'll spend the rest of my life trying. He said it simply, like it was a fact. Because you're worth it. Lily felt something in her chest crack open, all the fear and hurt and confusion bleeding out and leaving behind something raw and terrifying and maybe, possibly, hopeful. I need time, she said. Okay. I need you to not contact me for a few days. No texts, no calls, no showing up at my work or my apartment. How many days? I don't know. 3, 5? However long it takes me to figure out what I actually feel versus what I'm just scared of feeling. Ethan nodded slowly. I can do that, but after that? Can I see you? Can we talk? Maybe. Probably. I don't know. That's better than no. He picked up the bag of bread, held it out to her. Want to feed the ducks before you go? It was such a normal request, such a mundane thing, that Lily almost laughed. Yeah, she said. Okay. They stood there for 20 minutes, tossing bread to increasingly aggressive ducks, not talking, just existing in the same space. And when Lily finally said she needed to go, Ethan didn't argue, just nodded, told her to take care of herself, and watched her walk away. She made it halfway across the park before she turned back. He was still standing there, hands in his pockets, looking lost. "Ethan?" He looked up. "The $5,000. I never paid you." "I don't want it. That was the deal. The deal changed the moment I started actually caring about you. Keep the money. You need it more than I do." He managed a small smile. "Besides, I think I got the better end of this arrangement anyway." Lily didn't know what to say to that, so she just nodded and left for real this time. She spent the next 3 days in a fog. Work, hospital, home, repeat. Eleanor was improving daily, asking about Ethan constantly, and Lily kept making excuses for why he wasn't visiting. "You two had a fight," Eleanor said on day 2, not a question. "How did you—" "Because you've got that same look you had when you were 16 and broke up with that awful boy who worked at the movie theater." "What happened?" Lily told her. "All of it. The money, the lies, Rebecca's ambush, the confrontation in the park." Eleanor listened without interrupting, her expression thoughtful. "So he's rich," she said when Lily finished. "Not just rich, billionaire rich. And that bothers you." "It bothers me that he lied about it." "Did he lie? Or did he just not mention it?" Lily groaned. "Not you too. I'm just asking the question, sweetheart." Eleanor shifted in bed, wincing slightly at the movement. "Because from what you've told me, he never claimed to be poor. You just assumed he was normal, and he let you assume." "That's still lying." "Is it? Or is it just not volunteering information that would change how you saw him?" "What's the difference?" "Intent. He wasn't trying to deceive you. He was trying to be seen. There's a difference." Eleanor reached for Lily's hand. "You like him." "I don't—" "You do. I saw it that first night, the way you looked at him, the way he looked at you. That's not fake, baby. That's real." "How can it be real when it started as a lie? How can it not be? The lie was the marriage, the feelings that developed? Those were real from the start." Eleanor squeezed her hand. "You're scared. I get it. He's got money and power and a whole life you don't understand. But that doesn't mean he doesn't care about you, and it doesn't mean you should throw away something good just because it's complicated. What if he gets bored? What if 3 months from now he realizes I don't fit into his world? What if he doesn't? What if you're exactly what he needs, rich or poor?" Eleanor's eyes were knowing. "Don't let fear steal your chance at happiness, Lily. You've been doing that for too long already." That night, Lily lay in bed and thought about everything her grandmother had said. Thought about Ethan feeding ducks, playing dinosaurs with Sophie, sitting through 6 hours of surgery without complaint. Thought about the way he'd looked at her in the park, like she was the only thing holding him together. She thought about the articles she'd read, the photos of him at fancy events, the life he lived that was so far removed from hers it might as well be on another planet. And then she thought about him in his apartment, surrounded by Sophie's toys, wearing a dinosaur t-shirt and ordering pizza because he couldn't cook. Which version was real? The CEO in the tuxedo or the dad in the worn jeans? Maybe both, maybe neither. Maybe it didn't matter. On day 4, Lily went to see Rebecca. They met at the same cafe, same table, and this time it was Lily who did the talking. "Tell me about him," she said. "The real him, not the CEO, not the billionaire, just Ethan." Rebecca studied her for a moment. "Why?" "Because I need to know if what I saw was real or if I just saw what he wanted me to see." "Both, probably. Same as he saw with you." Rebecca ordered coffee for both of them, then settled back in her chair. "Ethan's complicated. He always has been. Growing up, he was the responsible one, the one who did everything right, got good grades, made Dad proud. I was the screw-up, the rebel. And when Dad died and left him the company, Ethan stepped up because that's what he does. He takes care of things." "What about Sarah?" "Sarah was perfect for him. Smart, driven, challenging. She made him laugh, made him think, made him better. When she died, he didn't just lose his wife. He lost his best friend, his partner, his whole future." Rebecca's voice softened. "And then he had to figure out how to raise Sophie alone while running a company and dealing with grief, and he just shut down. Emotionally. Put all his energy into being Dad and being CEO and nothing into being Ethan. Until now. Until you." Rebecca met her eyes. "I've never seen him like this, Lily, not even with Sarah. With her, it was steady, predictable, comfortable. With you, it's messy and complicated, and he's terrified and hopeful at the same time. That's real. Whatever else you doubt, don't doubt that. What if I'm not enough? What if I can't be what he needs? What if you are? What if you're exactly what he needs, even if it doesn't look like what you expected? Rebecca leaned forward. Stop thinking about what you're not and start thinking about what you are. Because the Lily I've been hearing about, the one who works 2 jobs and takes care of her grandmother and approaches strangers in parking lots, that woman is pretty damn incredible. Lily felt tears prick her eyes. I'm scared. Good. That means it matters. Rebecca smiled. Now go talk to him, or call him, or text him, whatever. Just stop hiding. Lily nodded, wiped her eyes, and made a decision. She pulled out her phone, unblocked Ethan's number, and typed, "Can we talk?" The response came within seconds. Yes. When? Where? Tonight? My place? I'll be there. What time? 7. I'll bring dinner. Ethan, you don't have to. I want to. Please let me do this. Lily stared at the message for a moment, then typed, Okay, see you at 7. She spent the rest of the day cleaning her apartment obsessively, trying not to panic, failing spectacularly. By the time 7 o'clock arrived, she'd reorganized her bookshelf twice and stress-cleaned the bathroom until it sparkled. The knock came at exactly 7. Lily opened the door to find Ethan standing there with takeout bags and flowers and the most nervous expression she'd ever seen on another human being. Hi, he said. Hi. I brought Thai food. I remembered you said you liked pad Thai, so I got that. And also some other stuff in case you changed your mind. And these, he held out the flowers. These are probably too much, but I saw them and thought of you and, Ethan, yeah? Come in. He stepped inside, set the bags on her tiny kitchen counter, handed her the flowers. They were daisies, simple and cheerful, and Lily felt something in her chest loosen slightly. I don't have a vase, she said. A glass works. She found a mason jar, filled it with water, arranged the flowers as best she could. Ethan unpacked the food, moving around her small kitchen like he'd been there 100 times before. They sat on her bed because there was nowhere else to sit, eating pad Thai straight from the containers, and for a few minutes neither of them spoke. Finally, Lily said, I talked to your sister again. I heard. She called me after. She told me about Sarah, about what you were like after she died. Ethan set down his food. What did she say? That you shut down, focused on being a dad and a CEO, and stopped being yourself. Lily put her own container aside. Is that true? Yeah, pretty much. He was quiet for a moment. After Sarah died, everything felt impossible. Getting out of bed, taking care of Sophie, running the company, all of it. And I realized if I let myself feel everything I was feeling, I'd never function. So I just stopped. Stopped feeling, stopped hoping, stopped living, just survived. And then you met me. And then I met you and suddenly I wanted to feel again, even though it was terrifying, even though I knew it might not work out. He looked at her. You made me want to live, Lily, not just survive, actually live. That's still a lot of pressure. I know. And I'm not putting that on you. I'm just explaining why I did what I did, why I didn't tell you about the money. I wanted you to see me, not my bank account. And I knew if you knew who I was, everything would change. It did change, because I wasn't honest, and I'm sorry. I should have told you earlier, should have trusted you with the truth. I was just so scared of losing what we were building. Lily pulled her knees up to her chest. Your sister asked me if I was mad that you lied or mad that you're rich. What did you say? I didn't know, but I've been thinking about it for 4 days, and I think... She paused, trying to find the right words. I think I'm mad that I felt stupid, that I offered you money you didn't need and felt sorry for you when you didn't need that either. I'm mad that I let myself be vulnerable and you weren't being equally vulnerable back. You're right, and I'm sorry. But I'm also scared. Because you live in this world I don't understand, with money and power and people who have agendas. And I'm just me. A waitress with student loans and a tiny apartment and no idea how to navigate any of that. You think I care about any of that? Maybe you should, because those differences matter, Ethan. They matter in ways neither of us can predict yet. He moved closer, close enough that she could feel the warmth of him. Then we'll figure it out, together, one problem at a time. What if we can't? Then we'll have tried, and we'll have done it honestly. No more secrets, no more lies. He took her hand. I'm all in, Lily. Cards on the table, no holds barred. I want this. I want you. Not as a distraction or an escape, but as my partner, my equal. The person I come home to and fight with and make up with and build a life with. We barely know each other. So let's fix that. Ask me anything, everything. I'll tell you the truth, even if it's ugly. Lily thought about it. How much money do you actually have? Last valuation put my net worth around $900 million. Most of it's tied up in the company, but I have liquid assets of about $60 million. The numbers were so huge they didn't even feel real. What do you do with all that money? Run the company, invest in other companies, donate to charities Sarah cared about? Live pretty simply, actually. I've got the apartment, a house in the Berkshires I never visit, some investments. Sophie's college fund is set up. Beyond that, he shrugged. It's just numbers in an account. Do people try to use you for it? Constantly. That's why I was so careful after Sarah died. Why I don't date, why I keep my personal life private. It's exhausting, never knowing if someone wants you or your money. And you thought I wanted your money. No, I thought you were the first person in 3 years who didn't even know about the money, who just saw me as a guy in a parking lot who might need $5,000. That was refreshing, honest, real. Lily understood that, understood the appeal of being anonymous, unburdened by expectations or assumptions. What happens now? She asked. That's up to you. I still don't know if I can trust you. Then I'll earn it back, however long it takes. And the money thing? The fact that you could buy and sell my entire life without blinking? We'll figure it out, set boundaries, have conversations, make sure we're on the same page. He squeezed her hand. I don't want to be your sugar daddy or your savior, Lily. I just want to be your partner. Even though I have nothing to offer you, you have everything to offer me. Your strength, your kindness, your terrible jokes, your stubbornness, the way you love fiercely and work hard and never give up. His voice dropped. You're not nothing, Lily. You're everything. And there it was. The thing she'd been afraid to believe laid out in plain words. I'm still scared, she whispered. Me too. What if this doesn't work? What if it does? They sat there in her tiny apartment holding hands, surrounded by secondhand furniture and string lights and the remains of Thai food, and Lily let herself imagine it. Not the fairy tale version where everything was perfect, but the real version. Messy and complicated and uncertain, but maybe, possibly, worth trying for. Okay, she said finally. Okay? Okay, let's try. For real this time. No more secrets, no more lies. Just us, figuring it out as we go. The smile that broke across Ethan's face was worth every moment of doubt and fear. Yeah, he said. Yeah. He kissed her then, soft and careful and full of promise, and Lily kissed him back and let herself hope that maybe, just maybe, this impossible thing could actually work. They sat on Lily's bed until the Thai food went cold, talking about everything they'd avoided before. Ethan told her about the pressure of running a company he'd never wanted to inherit, about board meetings that felt like war zones, about the loneliness of making decisions that affected hundreds of people's livelihoods. Lily told him about the journalism degree she'd abandoned when her grandmother got sick, about dreams of writing that had gotten buried under bills and exhaustion, about the guilt of wanting more when she already had so little. You could go back, Ethan said. Finish the degree. Write. With what money? What time? With mine. And you'd make the time by not working yourself to death at 2 jobs. Lily pulled away slightly. I'm not taking your money. Why not? Because that's not how this works. We're supposed to be equals, remember? We are equals, but that doesn't mean we can't help each other. He caught her hand before she could pull it away completely. If you had money, and I needed help, would you offer? That's different. How? Lily opened her mouth to argue, then closed it, because he was right, and she hated it. I need to think about it, she said finally. Okay, think about it. But while you're thinking, also consider that maybe accepting help doesn't make you weak. It just makes you human. They fell asleep sometime after midnight, fully clothed on top of her covers. Ethan's arm around her waist and Lily's head on his chest. She woke up at 6 a.m. to find him watching her, his expression soft in the early morning light. "How long have you been awake?" she murmured. "A while. Didn't want to move and wake you up." "Your arm must be dead." "Worth it." Lily smiled despite herself, then remembered. "I have to work at 8. Call in sick." "I can't just—" "Yes, you can. Your grandmother's being discharged today, right? You should be there for that, not slinging coffee at the diner." He had a point. Lily grabbed her phone and texted Margie, who responded immediately with, "About time you took a day off. Tell your husband I said hi." "Margie says hi," Lily said. "Tell her I said hi back, and that her coffee really is the best in Boston." "You're shameless." "I'm charming. There's a difference." They picked up Eleanor from the hospital at 10 a.m., and if she was surprised to see them together again, she didn't show it, just smiled knowingly and let Ethan help her into his car like it was the most natural thing in the world. "You two worked it out," she said as Ethan pulled into traffic. "We're working on it," Lily corrected from the back seat. "Good. Life's too short to waste time being stubborn." Eleanor glanced at Ethan. "Though I suppose you already know that." "Yes, ma'am." "Eleanor, we've been over this." "Yes, Eleanor." They got Eleanor settled back in her apartment, which was smaller than Lily's but filled with 50 years of memories. Photos on every surface, Afghans draped over furniture, a wall of bookshelves holding everything from romance novels to political biographies. "Home," Eleanor said, sinking into her favorite chair with a sigh. "I never thought I'd be so happy to see this old place." "The hospital wasn't that bad," Lily said, unpacking the bag of medications and instructions the discharge nurse had given them. "The hospital was sterile and impersonal and smelled like disinfectant. This smells like home." Eleanor watched Ethan examining her bookshelves with interest. "You're a reader." "When I have time, which isn't often." He pulled out a worn copy of The Great Gatsby. "This was required reading in high school. Hated it then, loved it when I read it again in college." "That's because high school makes you read for symbolism instead of story, ruins perfectly good books." Eleanor gestured to the kitchen. "Lily, sweetheart, there should be tea in the cupboard. Would you mind?" Lily recognized a dismissal when she heard one, but she went to make tea anyway, leaving Ethan and her grandmother alone in the living room. She could hear them talking in low voices, couldn't make out the words, and tried not to eavesdrop too obviously while she waited for the water to boil. When she came back with 3 mugs, Eleanor was holding Ethan's hand and saying something that made him nod seriously. "What are you two plotting?" Lily asked. "Nothing you need to worry about," Eleanor said innocently. "Just getting to know my grandson-in-law better." "We're not actually—" Lily started, then stopped. Because they were, weren't they? Legally married, even if it had started as a lie. Never mind. They stayed for lunch, which turned into dinner when Eleanor insisted on ordering pizza and watching her favorite game show. By the time they left, it was after 8, and Eleanor was yawning despite her protests that she was fine. "I like him," Eleanor said as Lily was helping her to bed. "More importantly, I like who you are when you're with him." "What do you mean?" "You smile more, laugh more. You let yourself be taken care of instead of always being the one doing the taking care of." Eleanor squeezed her hand. "That's what love should be, sweetheart. Not one person carrying all the weight, but 2 people sharing the load." "We're not. It's too early to call it love." "If you say so." But Eleanor's smile said she knew better. In the car on the way back to Lily's apartment, Ethan said, "Your grandmother asked me about my intentions." She did not. She absolutely did. Very politely, but very firmly. Wanted to know if I was serious about you or just playing around. "What did you tell her?" "The truth. That I'm serious, that I'm all in." He glanced over at her. "That I'm planning to spend the rest of my life proving I'm worth the chance you're giving me." That's a lot of pressure for a second chance. Good thing I work well under pressure. Over the next few weeks, they fell into a rhythm. Lily kept both her jobs despite Ethan's protests, but she did cut back her hours slightly. Ethan showed up at the diner for lunch at least 3 times a week, at the bookstore on her evening shifts, always with coffee or snacks or just company. Sophie started asking when Lily was coming over again, so Lily started coming over. Once a week at first, then twice. Then it seemed like she was there more often than her own apartment, playing dinosaurs, reading bedtime stories, learning to navigate the minefield of 5-year-old emotions and endless questions. "Why don't you live here?" Sophie asked one night during dinner. Lily nearly choked on her pasta. "I have my own place, remember? But you're married to Daddy." "Married people live together." "Sometimes they do. Sometimes they need time to figure things out first." "How much time?" "I don't know, sweetie." Sophie considered this. "My friend Emma's parents got divorced because her daddy was mean. Is Lily's daddy mean?" "I don't have a daddy," Lily said gently. "He died a long time ago." "Like my mommy?" "Yeah, like your mommy." Sophie thought about this for a moment, then said, "That's sad, but at least now you can have me and Daddy." The simple logic of it made Lily's throat tight. "Yeah, at least there's that." That night, after Sophie was asleep, Ethan found Lily on the couch, staring at nothing. "You okay?" he asked. "Your daughter just casually adopted me, I think." "Yeah, she does that. Is that okay?" "I don't know. It's a lot of responsibility. What if I screw it up? What if she gets attached, and then things don't work out between us, and I end up being another person who leaves her?" Ethan sat down next to her. "What if things do work out? What if you're exactly what she needs? What we both need?" "You can't know that." "No. But I can believe it anyway." He pulled her close. "Stop catastrophizing and just be here, with us, in this moment." So Lily tried. She showed up for family dinners and school events and weekend trips to the aquarium. She learned that Sophie hated broccoli but would eat it if you called it dinosaur trees, that she had nightmares about once a week, and the only thing that helped was someone sitting with her until she fell back asleep, that she asked about her mother sometimes in ways that broke Lily's heart. "Did my mommy like dinosaurs?" Sophie asked one Saturday morning while they were building a Lego T-Rex. "I don't know," Lily admitted, "but I bet she would have loved that you do. Daddy says she wanted to save the planet. That's why she was a lawyer." "That's right." "Are you going to save the planet too?" Lily smiled. "I don't know about the whole planet, but maybe I can help a little bit." "How?" "Good question. How did you save anything when you were barely keeping your own life together?" But then Lily thought about her abandoned journalism degree, about the stories she'd wanted to tell, the voices she'd wanted to amplify, about how she'd given all that up because it seemed impractical, because she'd needed money more than dreams. "I used to want to be a writer," she said slowly. "Tell stories about people who needed someone to listen. Maybe I could do that again." "You should," Sophie said with the absolute certainty of a 5-year-old. "You're good at listening." That night, Lily pulled out her old laptop and started writing. Just a few paragraphs at first, about a woman who worked 2 jobs and took care of her sick grandmother and thought she was alone until she wasn't. The words came slowly, rusty from disuse, but they came. She wrote for an hour before Ethan found her. "What's this?" he asked, reading over her shoulder. "Nothing, just, I don't know, an idea." "It's good, really good." He kissed the top of her head. "You should finish it." "Maybe, if I have time." "Make time." Easy for you to say. So make it easy for you too. Quit one of the jobs, or both of them. Focus on this. "Ethan, oh, I know. You're not taking my money. But what if it's not about the money? What if it's about you actually doing something you love instead of just surviving?" He crouched down next to her chair. "You tell me all the time that I should let myself live instead of just going through the motions. When are you going to take your own advice?" Lily stared at her laptop screen, at the words she'd written, at the possibility they represented. "I'm scared," she admitted. "Of what?" "Of failing, of trying and not being good enough, of depending on you and then losing you and being even worse off than I was before." "What if you don't fail? What if you're amazing at it? What if depending on someone doesn't make you weak, it just makes you human?" He took her hands. "I'm not asking you to give up your independence. I'm asking you to accept help so you can build something better. There's a difference. What if it doesn't work out between us?" "Then we'll figure it out. Prenup, divorce settlement, whatever you need to feel safe. But stop using hypothetical futures as an excuse to keep yourself stuck in a present that's making you miserable." He was right. She hated that he was right, but he was. "One job," she said finally. I'll quit the bookstore. Keep the diner for now because I like it and it's flexible. And I'll enroll for spring semester. Finish the degree. Yeah? Yeah. But slowly, part-time. At my own pace. Whatever pace you want, I'm just proud of you for doing it. 2 weeks later, Lily gave notice at the bookstore and registered for 2 classes at Boston University. Eleanor cried when she told her, happy tears this time, and Sophie insisted on making a congratulations card with way too much glitter. The holidays came fast. Thanksgiving with Eleanor and Ethan's sister Rebecca, who apologized again for ambushing Lily and brought enough wine to make everyone forgive her. Christmas morning with Sophie, who got the paleontology kit she'd been begging for and immediately started excavating fossils from a block of plaster all over Ethan's living room floor. This is a disaster, Ethan said, surveying the mess. This is childhood, Lily corrected, taking photos of Sophie's delighted face. Same thing. Eleanor's recovery continued steadily. By January, she was back to her normal routines, attending her book club and volunteering at the library, and generally being unstoppable. The doctors called it a miracle. Eleanor called it stubbornness. I told you I'd make it to 100 just to spite anyone who doubted me, she said when Lily worried about her overdoing it. Please don't give me a heart attack trying to prove a point. You should worry less and live more. Speaking of which, when are you two actually getting married? Lily blinked. We are married, legally. Remember? That City Hall nonsense doesn't count. I mean, a real wedding, with family and friends and a dress that costs more than $50. Gran, I'm not getting any younger, sweetheart, and I'd like to see you properly married before I die. You're not dying. We're all dying, just at different speeds. Now stop arguing and start planning. That night, Lily brought it up to Ethan. Your grandmother wants us to have a real wedding, she said. Do you want a real wedding? I don't know. Maybe. It feels weird having one when we started as a fake marriage. We're not fake anymore. Ethan pulled her onto his lap. We're as real as it gets. So if you want a wedding, let's have a wedding. It seems excessive. Everything about us is excessive. Might as well lean into it. They planned it for April, small and intimate, despite Rebecca's protests that they should do something bigger. Just family and close friends, in the public garden where they'd practiced being married the first time. Full circle, Lily said. Perfect circle, Ethan corrected. But 2 weeks before the wedding, Ethan showed up at Lily's apartment with a cardboard box and a nervous expression that immediately set off alarm bells. What's wrong? She asked. Nothing's wrong. I have something to show you. He set the box on her bed, opened it carefully. Inside were folders, documents, legal papers. I've been working on something, a project, and I wanted to show you before the wedding because it involves you, and I should have talked to you about it first, but I wanted it to be a surprise, and now I'm second-guessing everything. Ethan, breathe. What is this? He pulled out a folder, opened it to show architectural plans. It's a community center for families like yours struggling with medical bills and debt and just trying to survive. It would offer free financial counseling, job training, after-school programs for kids, support groups, everything people need but can't afford. Okay, that's amazing, but what does it have to do with me? It's named after you, the Lily Dawson Community Center. He pulled out another document, this one with a logo design. And I want you to run it, not the administrative stuff. I'll hire people for that. But the journalism piece, telling the stories of the people we help, amplifying their voices, showing the world that poverty isn't a character flaw, it's a systemic problem. Lily stared at the papers, unable to process what she was seeing. You did this for me. I did this because of you. Because you showed me that people are struggling and no one's listening. Because you made me want to use my resources for something that actually matters instead of just making more money. He took her hands. But I should have asked you first, before putting your name on it, before assuming you'd want to be involved. I got excited and I jumped ahead, and I'm sorry if I overstepped. Lily kissed him to shut him up. When she pulled back, she was crying. These are happy tears, right? Ethan asked nervously. You built me a community center. Technically, I'm still building it. Construction doesn't finish until August, but yes. You named it after me. It seemed appropriate. You inspired it. I don't know what to say. Say you'll help me run it. Say you'll use your writing to tell these stories. Say this is the kind of life you want to build with me. Yes, to all of it. Yes. The wedding happened on a perfect April morning, sunny but not too warm, the public garden full of spring flowers and curious ducks. Eleanor sat in the front row crying happy tears. Sophie stood next to Lily as flower girl wearing a dress covered in dinosaurs, and Rebecca served as maid of honor while making jokes about how she'd almost ruined everything. Ethan wore a suit but no tie, because Sophie said ties were uncomfortable and he'd listened to her. Lily wore a simple white dress she'd found on sale, because some things didn't need to be expensive to be perfect. "We're doing this for real this time," Ethan said when it was time for vows. "For real this time," Lily agreed. "I promise to feed the ducks with you every Sunday, to let you be stubborn when you need to be and to call you on it when you're being ridiculous, to support your dreams even when they scare me, to love your grandmother like she's my own, to be a safe place for you to land when everything feels too heavy." Lily's voice shook when it was her turn. "I promise to let you take care of me sometimes, to believe you when you say I'm enough, to love your daughter like she's mine, to build a life with you that's messy and complicated and real, to stop being so afraid of losing everything that I forget to enjoy what I have." They exchanged rings, real ones this time, simple gold bands that caught the light. When the officiant pronounced them husband and wife, the small crowd cheered and Sophie shouted, "Finally!" loud enough that several ducks took flight. At the reception afterward, held in a restaurant Eleanor had chosen because, "If I'm going to see my granddaughter get married properly, we're doing it somewhere with decent food." Lily found herself watching everyone she loved in one room. Eleanor holding court with Ethan's business associates, charming them with stories about Lily's childhood. Rebecca dancing with Sophie, both of them laughing at some private joke. Shanice and Margie comparing notes on how many times they'd each wanted to shake some sense into Lily over the past few months. "What are you thinking?" Ethan asked, sliding an arm around her waist. "That this is the most improbable thing that's ever happened to me. That 6 months ago I was drowning and desperate and now I'm here. That I almost missed all of this because I was too scared to hope. Good thing you're brave. Good thing you're persistent. Good thing you said yes." They danced to a song Eleanor had requested, something old and romantic that made Sophie wrinkle her nose. Halfway through, Eleanor tapped Ethan's shoulder and cut in, leaving him to dance with Sophie while she took Lily's hands. "I'm proud of you," Eleanor said, "for taking the chance, for letting yourself be loved." "You knew," Lily said. "That first night when we told you we were married, you knew it was fake." "Of course I knew. You're a terrible liar, sweetheart. Always have been." Eleanor smiled. "But I also knew you wouldn't have done something that desperate unless you really loved me. And I knew Ethan wouldn't have agreed unless there was something real between you. So I decided to trust that you'd figure it out. What if we hadn't? Then I would have died knowing you'd tried, that you'd been brave enough to take a risk." Eleanor squeezed her hands. "That's all any of us can do, really. Be brave enough to try." The Lily Dawson Community Center opened in September, a month before Eleanor's 79th birthday. It was everything Ethan had promised and more. A beautiful space designed to be welcoming instead of institutional, staffed by people who understood what it meant to struggle because they'd been there themselves. Lily ran the storytelling program, interviewing families and writing their stories and publishing them on a blog that quickly gained attention. Local news picked up some of her pieces. Then national outlets. Within 3 months, she had speaking requests and interview offers and opportunities she'd never imagined. "You're good at this," Ethan said, reading her latest article about a single mother working 3 jobs to support her kids. "I learned from experience," Lily said. Sophie started first grade and declared she was going to be a writer too, when she wasn't being a paleontologist. She wrote stories about dinosaurs who helped people and illustrated them with drawings that Lily hung on the refrigerator next to Sophie's schoolwork. "Are you happy?" Sophie asked one night during their bedtime routine. "Yeah," Lily said, surprised by how true it was. "I really am." "Good, because you're my mom now, and moms should be happy." Lily's throat went tight. Sophie had started calling her Mom about a month ago, casual and certain, like it had always been that way. Ethan had asked if it was okay, if Lily was comfortable with it, and Lily had said yes even though it terrified her. "You make me happy," Lily told her now. "You and your dad both." "Even when I'm annoying?" "Especially when you're annoying." Sophie giggled and burrowed deeper under her covers. "Love you, Mom." "Love you too, dinosaur girl." Eleanor lived to see all of it. The The community center, the articles, Sophie's first grade graduation, the life Lily had built from the ashes of desperation. She died peacefully in her sleep 2 weeks after her 80th birthday, having made Lily promise 3 things: keep writing, keep loving, and for the love of everything, stop working so hard. She was proud of you, Ethan said at the funeral. I know, Lily said. She told me, about 100 times. She told me too, said you'd finally learned to let yourself be happy. She was right, about a lot of things. They scattered Eleanor's ashes in the public garden near the bench where Lily and Ethan had first practiced being married, where they'd later gotten married for real. Sophie picked wildflowers and threw them in the water while Lily tried not to cry and failed. She's not really gone, Sophie said with the certainty of a 6-year-old. She's just somewhere else now, like my first mommy. Yeah, Lily managed. Like your first mommy. Life moved forward because that's what life does. Lily finished her degree, got job offers from major publications, turned them all down to keep running the storytelling program at the center. Ethan stepped back from daily operations at Blackwood International to spend more time with family, promoting someone younger and hungrier to CEO, while he focused on philanthropy and actually being present. They bought a house, finally, something big enough for all 3 of them, plus a guest room for when Rebecca visited and an office for Lily to write in. Sophie got a dog, a rescue mutt she named Fossil, who was afraid of everything but loved everyone. On their 2nd anniversary, Ethan took Lily back to the coffee shop where they'd first met. This feels like tempting fate, Lily said. What if someone else approaches you in the parking lot with a crazy offer? Then I'd say, sorry, I'm already married to someone who makes crazy offers, and I'm very happy about it. Sap. You're sap. They sat in the car for a while, watching people come and go, and Lily thought about the woman she'd been 2 years ago. Desperate, drowning, willing to pay a stranger to lie for her. Do you regret it? She asked. Saying yes that night? All the complications it brought? Not for a second. Do you regret asking? Not anymore. But I did, for a while. When I found out who you really were, I regretted everything. She took his hand. I thought you'd made a fool of me. That I was just entertainment for a bored billionaire. And now? Now I think we were both exactly what the other needed. You needed someone to see you as just Ethan. I needed someone to show me it was okay to accept help. We were both drowning in different ways, and somehow we managed to save each other. Very poetic. I'm a writer now. It's literally my job to be poetic. Fair point. They drove home to find Sophie and Rebecca making what appeared to be a dinosaur habitat out of blankets and couch cushions in the living room, with Fossil trying desperately to be helpful and mostly just getting in the way. We're making a museum, Sophie announced. Aunt Becca is going to be the tour guide, and I'm going to be the paleontologist, and you guys are the visitors. Sounds official, Ethan said. It is official. We even have tickets. Sophie held up pieces of construction paper with prices written in crayon. Only $5 each. Lily caught Ethan's eye, and they both started laughing. What's funny? Sophie asked. Nothing, Lily said, pulling out her wallet. Just remembering something. Here's your $5. She bought a ticket for a museum that didn't exist, built by a daughter who'd adopted her in a house she'd never imagined she could have, with a man she'd paid $5,000 to pretend to love her. And she thought about Eleanor, who'd known all along that the pretending was just a bridge to something real. Life wasn't perfect. They still fought sometimes about money and boundaries and how to parent and whose turn it was to deal with the dog. Lily still struggled with feeling like she didn't deserve what she had. Ethan still worked too much when he was stressed. Sophie still had nightmares about losing people she loved. But they showed up for each other anyway, imperfect and messy and real. And that, Lily had learned, was what love actually looked like. Not a fairy tale, not a rescue, just 2 broken people deciding to be broken together and finding that somehow, in the breaking and the mending, they'd built something stronger than either of them could have managed alone. $5,000, she thought sometimes. The best investment she'd ever made. Though if she was being honest, the real investment had been the courage to ask, to risk rejection and humiliation and failure for the slim chance that maybe, just maybe, someone would say yes. Ethan had said yes, and everything else had followed from that one impossible, improbable, utterly life-changing yes.